Okay. Okay. So this live is going to be a little more calm as the one earlier. Totally calm, totally chill. We're going to be talking about past lives. And we're going to talk about past lives because this is going to be an important part of your ascension journey. And I know you know that already. I hope you know that. So I'm going to actually share some past lives so that you can get a sense of what to expect. Okay? And how fast and how intense it can be. So again, it's about past lives. And I'm going to share some stories of past lives which might trigger you in a good way to remember your own. Okay? And it might actually help you realize how past lives come in. And also AKASHIK readings. So I'm going to start with some of my past lives. I'm going to wait until we have some 9 people. We're also going to do oracle readings after I share with you some past lives, which I think could actually give you more confidence in how past lives occur, how short they are. You know, like you'll get a certain amount of information, but you're not going to get all of it. Okay, so let me see when people come on. Okay, so if you're into incarnation, reincarnation, karma, why you're looping into reincarnations, why certain reincarnations seem, what's the word, repetitive. They're like things you're not learning because you're not getting subtle messages. You're not listening to divine guidance of your own soul. Okay? And that can be hard, to navigate. Okay? Also, past lives show you the various faces of your soul experiences embodying different egoic characters, personalities. And a lot of them, we carry some of those pieces from past lives. We carry from one incarnation to another. It's called some scars, impressions. It's also part of the reason why some of us need to do, actually most of us, pretty much all of us need to do a soul retrieval guided meditation in some capacity. It's not a bad idea. And it will help you either heal or release looping patterns. Okay? So when I get 9 people, share the live if you can. When I get 9 people, I'll go ahead and start talking about some past lives. Okay? So yeah, we're at 9. Okay, perfect. So while I was being trained to be a hypnotherapist, I don't know if you know this, but we would do hypnotherapy sessions on each other. We were learning with our professor, and my professor was Professor Dr. Paul Orand, who worked with Michael Newton. And so one of the past lives, I had many, okay? There were many, many, but the ones that I'm going to explain to you are really interesting. One past life, very, very mundane, but I knew exactly my name was Beatrice, 18th century Italy, in a convent, in an abbey. And for some reason, and I'm going to actually read to you what I put, I saw a large window overlooking a blue sky peppered with small white clouds. A hand, golden, was holding a dark symbol, and I could not make it out. I thought it looks like a window, terracotta sides, black, tiny grid balcony, wrought iron. So it was almost like there was a wrought iron, like you couldn't climb out of the window, right? Then I saw Beatrice, meaning myself, her hair shorn, uneven, roughly cut as if done with a knife. Her breasts are tightly bound. She's washing her face, arms, and armpits vigorously. She's being forced to fast on water. Okay? She's overlooking a vegetable garden beneath her window, and she smells the fresh herbs and vegetables. She's hungry. She's praying for strength to go on. So this was like self-harming, forced to fast on water for sins committed. And in other words, a punishment in the abbey, in the abbey, not the monastery, the abbey, the convent. And that would have created trauma with food, trauma with self-worth, trauma with not being good enough, okay? Can you imagine being that hungry you could smell the cabbage? The next incarnation, warrior in the Harappan Valley. Warrior, blue-skinned sage coming to me, telling me that I would die in a battle this day. I was muscular, long dark hair, oiled and braided, with shaved on the side like a mohawk. Went into battle on a dark gray horse, armored in silver. I kept hearing the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna and Krishna. I don't care if the warning, the blue sage is thick-lipped. He tries to beseech me by touching my form. I tell him not to touch me. I see light beings on a platform separating me from source, a team, like a motherboard in a PC. I go into battle. I'm spirit on my left side. My horse rears, which is why I was open to the attack. As I was distracted, I died by a beheadment. I felt no regret, no remorse. I missed no one, and I died. It felt neutral. The message was, there's nothing to regret, nothing to miss. It's all an illusion. So these past lives aren't always like going on and on and on about who you love, what you were doing, and so forth. I'm reading my own past lives, notes that I took on my own past lives. And it's interesting because what's the message there? Well, I've had a lot of incarnations as a warrior. I've said that many times. But in this particular warrior, this blue sage, right? Blue skin sage. By the way, blue, the skin blue, it's actually in this particular timeline, it's a genetic issue, mutation. In fact, in the Appalachians, there was a particular people, a family, and they came out looking blue. I'm not joking. This is you can actually look it up. But anyway, this blue sage, blue skin sage, was trying to tell me, listen, you're not going to win this. Now, why was this important? Well, because if you know the Bhagavad Gita, the battle of Kurukshetra, if I perished on that day, I was on the wrong side of the battlefield, meaning I was an evil person, an evil, arrogant warrior. Why is that important to know that? Well, because it puts you into perspective that to have these incarnations to ascend, right, you have had to experience the light and the dark. There's actually nothing to be ashamed of. And the question you have to constantly ask yourself as you excavate your incarnations is, am I that person today? And clearly the answer would be no. I hope it's no for you. I know it's no for me. But as long as you deny allowing your soul to show you the many faces that you wore in multiple incarnations, you won't be free of them. Okay? Another past life. Hang on for a quick second. Native American Indian boy having scalp torn off while still alive and it being shown by white men as they laughed. Humiliation. How do we know what our past lives are? Good evening, Tony. Oh, good evening, Jessica. How do you know? Well, I'm kind of telling you that you know by just allowing the downloads to come, because it's pretty complex shit and some of it isn't fun to read or to remember. It's not Kumbaya, I'm Cinderella. I'm Alexander the Great. I'm just this great person that's doing everything right. It's quite often, there's some trauma in it. It's not pleasant. Sometimes it's very pleasant. Yeah, sometimes, like I remember I was doing a group hypnotherapy session, and one of my clients was saying to me afterwards, she said, I was running in the desert. I went, in the desert, huh? I had long, dark hair. My hair was down to almost hitting my hips. And I was wearing a white robe, like creamy white, like linen. And I was running in the desert. And then I shook awake. I went, why would you shake awake? What happened? Why did you? She goes, I don't know. It just made no sense. Well, it made no sense because she didn't allow the download of this past life that was coming to her, of this woman running in the sand, in the desert. She didn't allow it to unfurl, to show her who was chasing her, or perhaps who she was running towards, because it didn't make sense to her. So that's how you know it's a past life. Like you got to just sit with it and let it flow, let it unfurl. It's magic, it's secrets. And so these incarnations that are brought to you through your waking state. I can tell you a story where I was walking. This is when I was like 30. We didn't have a car. We lived in LA. And LA with no car is, they've written songs about that. You know, nobody walks in LA. Anyway. So I had gone to the supermarket, which was like 4 or 5 miles away. It was hot as fuck. It was Pasadena, California, hot as fuck in the summer. I had my hiking boots, take note, leggings, a t-shirt, and I had one paper shopping bag in one hand. Actually, I remember it was on my right hand, and on the other, and I'd thrown the other shopping bag over my shoulder, right? And as I was almost home, like probably I had another 15 minutes of walking. I was tired, it was hot, I was sweating. And as I was walking 15 minutes away from my home, my hiking boots turned into cowboy boots. I could feel it. I've owned cowboy boots. I've walked miles in cowboy boots, which is kind of wild because they're not exactly walking shoes, but I've done it. But suddenly I was rolling. There was a certain step that you take when you're walking into cowboy boots. And here I am wearing jeans, and I'm a lean, hipped young man. And suddenly the bag in my right hand is a saddlebag, and what I have thrown over my shoulder is a saddle. And I'm clearly a man, I'm clearly a cowboy, I'm clearly young, probably, I don't know, early 20s. And I've been walking a long time, so apparently my horse must have, collapsed or something, and I was trying to get to a destination. And it took like 60, 80 beats, and then it was gone. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I sat and on the sidewalk and just closed my eyes and breathed in the vision so I'd never ever forget it, because I was fully aware I was having a past life memory. Okay, let me read what you guys are saying. It could be questions. Any questions so far? Okay, no. Okay, great. So my first ever time I ever had a past life was after I was 18. My lover was 18. We were in Switzerland, and again, this is in the 80s, and we had been making love, and then we stopped. We were done, and we just stared at each other, like mesmerized by each other. You know how lovers are. They eye lock. And we were eye locking for a couple hours. We were going in and out of sleep. And suddenly images started pouring out to the point where we both sat up. And he said, wait, hang on. I'm seeing you in a temple. And I went, stop. I'm walking in a temple. There's all these, it's high ceilings. It feels like Egypt. I'm wearing a white gown. He said, yes. And then he said, and you have dark hair and large blue eyes. And I went, yes. Yes. And he said, well, okay, tell me what I look like. And I started telling him what he looked like, and we were having a past life memory that was happening simultaneously, and we didn't realize that we had actually hypnotized each other with eye gazing. And so he said, yes, so he was a soldier of some kind, a captain, or definitely not a general or a lieutenant or whatever, and he had pale auburn hair and golden skin, and there was a rabble of people fighting, trying to get up the staircase of, it looked like a temple. And I was rushing through the temple aware that some shit had gone down. I was a temple priestess. And it didn't make sense. Because you see, I was colliding with what I was seeing, how we looked, and that it was Egypt. It made no sense. But anyway, unfortunately, some of these rabblers must have gotten into the temple, and I was grabbed and stabbed, multiply stabbed, okay, unalivened, as they're forcing us to say. And he rushed in, we were lovers, and he rushed in that incarnation to try to save me, and he saw me passing away. And he was so concerned with his own life that he left me there as I was, dropping out of my body. And because I was Egyptian, a priestess, I was like, how can you leave my body like that? Now, if you guys know anything about Egypt, you know what I'm talking about. And it felt like a massive abandonment and a massive betrayal because he did not hold me while I was passing. He pretty much left me there. And we came out, we snapped out of it. It must have been like 4 o'clock in the morning by the time we were done. I never forgot it. And guess what happened? In that incarnation, this life, he abandoned me again. But this time, I didn't, I was able to process it and to let it go. Now, it took me damn near 30 years later, where a movie called Agora came out with Rachel Weisz about Egypt. I think it was around 400 and something, 25 AD. And that's exactly what happened. The newly formed Christians were attacking what they thought was the pagan religions of the old ways, of the Egyptian ways. And they attacked, and it was the final attack of the Alexandria Library and the temples. I was stunned, but it took me 30 years to find out what was the timeline. So incarnations are fascinating, and you don't always have the answers on the spot. You can't always connect timelines, when, how, where. And I think sometimes it's done purposely by your guides because it's not information that would help you until you're ready, and then you put it together and the information is brought to you to complete the timeline, the story, and the whys, and so forth. So watch the movie Agora if you want to know. And Agora is spelled Agora with Rachel Weisz. An incredible movie, actually. It's actually based on a true story. But those events happened. Let me see. Any questions or comments? So when you go into hypnotherapy, right, and you go into different levels of consciousness, and there's this guy on YouTube that shakes this person's hand, go to sleep, and just, falls asleep. This scares the shit out of people because no one wants to be in that kind of vulnerability. It makes sense. Who wants to be that vulnerable to any one human being? It's insane, right? I'm not convinced he could do that. I'm not convinced, having been into therapy since I was 30, and being trained by some of the best. And I've been lucky, to be honest. But I'm not convinced people can do that. I think it's bullshit. But let's say they can, using acupressure. And that's my point. Using acupressure, not verbal commands. Then why would anyone who has that power use it to... There's a lack of integrity there. Because that's not why these tools, aka gifts, are given to us. It's not to oppress, suppress, control, subjugate, even voluntarily subjugate another human being. That's why I have so this idea that if you go into hypnotherapy, you're gonna lose, you're gonna be in complete my mercy, or someone like me, I'm at the mercy, is not true. Now, do I think that you should go with someone that you trust? Absolutely, 100%. But ever since COVID lockdown, many of us, in fact, my whole class was done on Zoom, and all my hypnotherapy sessions were Zoom done. It was just done on Zoom. And it was interesting, too, because I've done face-to-face for years, like years and years, decades, with the same hypnotherapist, because once you trust someone, you don't want to deviate. I'm not kidding. You don't jump around and kick tires. Okay, this is spirituality. This is not, you're not buying a car. And but so I went to her for the entirety of when I lived in California, Southern California. And then, of course, I moved on and so forth. I still adore her. I adore her. And because she saved my life on many levels. But what I will say to you is that you can go pee in the middle of a hypnotherapy session and go right back into it. And it was funny because I knew this. And when I was being trained in my, with my other students and Dr. Paul Aran and his delegated facilitators, they were all shocked. They didn't know that, but I knew that because I'd been doing hypnotherapy for years. And guess what? I've had clients who had to tinkle, and and I said, "Don't worry, go now. Don't do anything else. Do what you got to do. Come back. We're good." And I usually say that before the session so that when they say I gotta go, I go, because I don't want to go into too much. Yes, of course, come back, you'll be fine. I kind of prep people on everything that could happen so they can just get up and go and do their business, come back and go right back into that section of that past life. I kid you not, it's never failed. Okay? So that's really interesting too. Let me see what else. Now, when we go into hypnotherapy, the induction is interesting because, of course, there's classic inductions, right? And my induction is dealing with the chakras. So we spend a good 10, 12 minutes on the induction because that is going to be that's the launching pad. And so there are a couple of things that need to happen, in my humble opinion. One is I need to make sure your chakras are clear, clean, and charged, that we upgrade you with light codes, that you're protected. And then we're ready to launch. And then I do go through the protocol. And the protocol is what? Well, favorite childhood memory. Now, do people go into favorite childhood memory all the time? No, sometimes the soul says, oh yeah, no, we're not doing that shit again. We're going to look at some shit that was really, really hard on you. And we're going to talk about that. And so if a client says to me, I can't do this, I'll go, okay, let me pull you out. Let me pull you out of this. And I do. But typically it's favorite childhood memory, right? Which most clients are able to do with ease. And then it's being in your mother's womb and to figure out what was going on with your mother and your father as they were expecting you to come into the world. What was your experience in the womb and so on. So we're looking for a lot of details. And then we go right into a past life. And in some cases, like in my case, when they were trying to induct me in that way, I didn't need to go there. Why? Because I'd done hypnotherapy for so many years that I went straight to the meat of the story. I completely skipped that. So when I prep a client, I say, listen, I'm going to go ahead and give you, some suggestions. But if you skip all that and go directly to a past life, don't even just say, I'm there, and I'll understand, and we'll start there. Okay? But all of these things are meant to relax you, so that you have like details and you're having a good time, and we're slipping into you being in your mother's belly and what's going on, and then moving into the first past life. And some people go through very mundane first past lives, like me as a nun, as Beatrice, for example, right? That was a past life in hypnotherapy. And I think it's because the soul wants to ease the ego into accepting a past life. And believe me, it's not just any aimless past life. It is an important past life to teach you certain things, but it's to ease you. So typically it starts with a past life on planet Earth. And 80% of the time, my clients will go into past lives after a couple lives in human form. They will actually remember past lives on other planets. And it's absolutely, that's when it gets juicy as hell. Because there they get to see, and suddenly they're reminded of what it was like to have life experiences in a level of freedom that they have missed their entire incarnations on this planet. Or a sense of community and unity. A sense of really the kind of love, and I don't mean feeling God's divine unconditional love. I mean a love within the community that's really sweet. And it's very healing to feel that once again. To go back, quote unquote, home. A forgotten home. A home that was lost or destroyed. Okay? For various reasons. Let me see. Any questions or comments so far? Do you have any questions on reincarnation and past lives? Any questions or comments? This is the time to ask, because I don't always go there. Any questions or comments? Okay. So what? And I'm going to ask you this. This is a question to you, and type it up. Type up the answer. What do you think is the purpose? And don't give me a pat answer like it's to heal trauma. Don't do that. What is the purpose? Why does the soul need to remember past lives? Why is this helpful to your ascension journey? Why do you think that is? Does anybody have an idea? And it's hard to give intense, well thought out answers, but what would be a main reason to remember a particular past life? Shall I answer it for you? Or do you have an answer? Is somebody typing up? Because I can't see if you're typing. So if you're typing something, let me know what you're typing. To know what to work on or work towards. Yes. Exactly. So for example, in the past life, I'll give you an example on myself. I had a past life as a Native American boy being scalped while still alive. Why is that traumatic? Well, they're laughing, number one. So they're shaming the trauma of dropping the body. And what do we know about Native American and also other peoples across the world? Well, hair is a psychic power. And to take away hair is massively debilitating, shaming. It goes all the way back to World War II with the French women who were cavorting with SS officers and so forth, and they were completely shaved, and they were shaved with scissors. Did you see a theme between me as a Native American boy being scalped and Beatrice, her hair is shorn as a nun in Italy, and it looks like it's a rough cut, it's done with scissors or a knife, and it's roughly done? So there was a particular scene in this incarnation. I had hair down to my hips, long braids, and my father thought it was a good idea to cut my hair completely short. He snuck me out of the house before my mom could wake up and cut my hair. It was massively traumatic for me, massive. So when I got to remember these lives and I sat in meditation as to why was this a theme? Hair, of all things. Like, who gives a shit about hair? I'll grow back. I realized that it was some scars from these two past lives. At least these two. Does that make sense? So what you would think is a benign message isn't. You got to ask yourself, how does that connect to me in this incarnation? Does that make sense? Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So it's not just to learn, but what is the lesson, you see? And so it's more than that. It's also learning how to face your shadows. Have you ever had a client that was unable to go into hypnosis? I have tried online videos. I had one client, and I had my hypnotherapist also. I sent her because she was so amazing, I sent her 50 people, and 2 people could not go under hypnosis. One of them was my mother. And it's because they're control freaks. They're afraid. The one client who could not go into hypnosis, is because, and she actually said, I don't want to go in. I actually don't want to know any of this. I just want to talk. And so we sat and talked, and I coached her on other things. But she actually could not. She was terrified, of going back into time. Terrified. And so you have to ask yourself, what are you afraid of? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you afraid of? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to destroy you? Do you think you're going to see things you don't want to see? Typically, if a client says, I want to pull out, I'll say, okay, I don't want to see this. They won't say I want to pull out. They'll say, I don't want to see this. And I'll just pull them out. Because we've already had a chat, a pre-planning, saying, do you want to see this? No. Do you want to see that? No. If that happens, do you want to do it? No. So I already know I got to pull you out. And I pull you out. And the way I pull people out, I use pranayama. I mean, obviously I'm talking, suggesting you out of it, obviously. But there's also breathing techniques that I use to get you out. So you have to be open to it. Let me put it this way to you, okay? You have to be so sick of your life as it stands, and no offense, your ignorance of what's blocking you. You've got to be so fed up that you're hell-bent on going and just going in. It's like cannonballing in. You cannonball in. But there's certain things you won't do. I personally don't give a shit because I know my soul is eternal. Nothing's going to destroy me. So, and it's probably because of my faith as a spiritualist in source. I'm not afraid of what I'm going to find out, because every time I've gone all in, I mean all in. It didn't matter if it was plant medicine. It didn't matter if it was hypnotherapy. It didn't matter if it was whatever the hell it was. I never came out worse for the wear. Never. There might have been like a processing time line, you know what I mean, where you got to process it. You need some hermit time going within. But at the end of the day, I never regretted ever going all in. But you got to make sure that who you do this with, you trust. So what I typically do with clients when they say, I want to work with you on hypnotherapy, and I get clients that do like 2, 3, 4 sessions in like a 6, 7 week, 8 week period. They'll say, and that's not for everyone. Some people just do one session and then they'll come back to me like 6 months later and say, I'm ready to do another one. It depends. Everyone's different. But they'll come in and they'll realize that their soul is wise and knows what they need to see. And it's for the highest good. And it's not there to destroy you, but to clear a lot of things that is damaging your process, your progress in this incarnation. It just, So you have to be open to it. Absolutely. You have to be open to past life incarnation. Hypnotherapy is an amazing, I've yet to have somebody saying, I wish I had never done it, and when I used to do a lot of hypnotherapy for myself, and you do the Zoom recording, and I remember when I did my last hypnotherapy session was in 2021 with a hypnotherapist I adore, and that was the last one I did until I did my classes, and in my classes we didn't do Zoom recording. In other words, everyone was fucking up on that shit for whatever reason, but my last recorded one, I must have listened to that recording 50, 60 times. Because every time you listen to it, you get another aha moment going, oh my God, yes. And then because you're listening to yourself describing the experience you're having, all the images come back and all the details that you might have forgotten come back. And then more deep understanding and even more details are revealed to you as you listen. So it's really super exciting, and so healing and shockingly magical. like magical, like you wouldn't believe it. It was during a hypnotherapy that I first encountered Yeshua, the Galactic Council, my guide, learning my spiritual name, seeing my husband who had died a year previous, seeing my twin flame on another planet when we were beloveds. There was a lot. It was a jam-packed, action-packed session. And it lasted 3 hours. That's a lot of stuff. And I remember when my hypnotherapist, his name's Reagan, when Reagan took me under, he said, I knew you were an old soul. And I went, how did you know that? He goes, because you didn't go through any of the induction of, you were fucking there. And I was there. Part of, to be honest with you, part of it is because my mind didn't come from, in other words, from the time I was 2-3 years old, I remember, I mean, I believed in reincarnation like you breathe. I clearly remembered, picking my parents amongst other parents, potential parents I could have had. And I was fortunate to have parents who had no dogmatic link to any orthodox teaching, religions of any kind, but they believed in the unseen and the unknown. They sure did. And so I was allowed to spread my wings, and it was fucking incredible. I've talked about, like, my brother. I remember my brother was 3 years old, and he had a reoccurring nightmare that went on for almost 2 years of what, and he would say, again, remember we were speaking French, but he was talking about how he'd been in a car accident, and with a bus, some kind of big bus, some kind of trolley, and how he missed his 2 sons. He didn't like his wife. He didn't miss his wife, but he missed his 2 sons. That's a hell of a thing to come out of a little 3-year-old kid. Okay? And he was absolutely having a hard time with missing his 2 sons. And so when you have experiences like that, and I remember my grandfather had passed. I was 3 years old. And I saw him clearly in the living room, and it was like, and I knew he was gone. So what I was seeing was not him in the physical world. I was seeing his spirit looking at me, sitting, looking at me. So when you grow up with that, I think that, and no one's gaslighting you, well-meaning people gaslighting you, by the time you're going into the experiences of anything that's metaphysical, you're gonna dive in, and you're not gonna be afraid. You're not gonna think that it's gonna make you crazy. You're not afraid that you're gonna come out completely messed up. You know what scares me more than anything? Taking illegal drugs, doing something that scares me, because you could take something and not come back right ever again, depending on what it is. But that kind of work, like hypnotherapy, meditation, plant medicine with a shaman, no, that doesn't scare me. I know I'm coming back, and I know I'm coming back better than ever. You know what I mean? And you have to know that for yourself. Like, I can't do that for you. You got to give it to yourself. I can't wait till I experience all this. I've never tried with a person guiding me. I was 8 years old, being raised Jehovah's Witness, and I knew when I die I was going to be in another body. Wow. I experienced that and told myself that it was in my mind, not real. I experienced that and told myself that it was in my mind, not real. So it's sad, isn't it? So you were gaslighting yourself, which is very common. Very, very common to gaslight yourself. Did I understand you correctly? Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'll tell you something that was really interesting. Like, I remember we lived in San Francisco, me and my husband, and we were living in the house right on Cole Street. It's called Cole Valley, off Haight-Ashbury. And there was a garden. There was a screen door that was open, and we were looking at houses in the islands, the Caribbean islands, and we were like daydreaming, and then like idiots we started, well, I wouldn't buy that house. Well, why would you buy that house? And we were like stupid little, I think I just turned 20. We were both 25 years old. And out of the blue came a 3-pointed flame out of the garden, and it was levitating between us, like a separation. And it levitated, 3-pointed flame, orange, a little bit of red, but mostly all these levels of orange, gold, yellow, right? And it was there, suspending in between us. And of course, it was like, holy shit, what the hell is this? Silence. And then it shot back out of the kitchen and shot into the garden, all the way to the middle of the garden, and went straight up. And we both looked at each other going, what the fuck was that? So what's interesting about people is that they'll see that and they won't even share that with each other, and they'll think they're crazy. And that's been trained into us for multiple incarnations. You know? And I certainly don't think I'm crazy. In fact, it's not even I don't think. I know I'm not crazy. I remember thinking there's no way the voice in my head can die. Wow. Yes, I saw my late husband laying next to me. I see that. What does it take, or how does someone train to be a shaman? Okay, this is my humble opinion. And I just got an ear ringing. No one can really train you to be a shaman. It's something that you are or you're not. So if you're attracted to be a shaman, that means you've been a shaman. And the best books to guide you into how to become a shaman would be Lynn Andrews' books. And you could start with Jaguar Woman, where she goes up to Canada to meet with Whistling Elk and another woman, I forgot the other woman's name, Native American women, and who are part of the Sisterhood of the Shield. And the reason I'm telling you all of these pretty detailed instructions on how to, quote unquote, be a shaman is that you don't need a piece of paper to become a shaman. What you need are fucking real shamans. Does that make sense? You need a real badass shaman that actually knows their shit and doesn't give you a little paper with a certificate. Hypnotherapy, yeah, that's important. Okay, I needed my certifications. Okay, but this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about shamans. So what you want to do is find a good shaman. Some of my friends who have gone into becoming combo practitioners, right? Frog medicine, which is legal all over the world. I think all over the world, but definitely it's legal in the States. It's combo, and many of you know what it is. This particular person I'm thinking of. I met her doing Aya when we went to do the great grandmother medicine, but she ended up going to Peru for 3 months to study with a shaman. I'm not kidding. Okay? The other person that was doing combo on my son would go to Brazil and study for years, going back to Brazil and then picking up her combo, with her and carrying it, to the States. And so that's what I would give you. Beware of people that dole out certificates of I'm now a shaman. No, that's not how it works. It's just like saying I'm a Reiki master. There are Reiki masters that have absolutely no talent, and there are Reiki practitioners who are only level 1 and 2 that will blow your mind with their power. And I'm saying all this to give you confidence. Okay? It's not to denigrate anyone. It's to give you confidence. I remember thinking okay, I got that. That was good, by the way. Any other questions or comments? So let me go right into Akashic readings, right? Because we talked about hypnotherapy. Do you have any questions on hypnotherapy? Okay. There's something I just came across that I'm going to read to you. Our potential is limitless. We only use a tiny fraction of our resources. The rest atrophies from fear. Lack of self-acceptance is the inability to dream. Wow. So this concept of connecting with your own past lives on your own, concept of connecting with your own past lives on your own, like through what is the word? Through soul retrieval guided meditation, for example, and things of that nature, is something that you are the navigator of your of this path. Hey, Mia, it's good to see you. I was thinking of you while I was talking about this. Okay. Let me see. What else did I want to... Okay, so any questions on hypnotherapy, past life regression? Now, the thing I'm going to tell you about past life regression, okay, is that you might come in for a past life regression, and if you have unhealed trauma from... Because I had a male client, okay, he had unhealed trauma as a child, 5-year-old. And so even though we wanted to do, I was on board, he was on board, and then guess what? The soul went, yeah, I don't think so. We're going right back to what happened to you when you were 5. And that's where we had to go. That's where we had to go. And this particular client, I worked with him 6 days a week for 30 days straight to get him out of the habit, breaking the habit of being himself, right? Quoting the book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. But that's what we did. Repetition, 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 repetition. Hypnotherapy, readings, coaching, hypnotherapy again, and discussing hypnotherapies, right? So that was something he needed to do. And there was a lot of trauma as a young boy. What is the difference exactly? You're asking about the difference between Akashic reading, Akashic record reading. Well, Akashic record reading is me going into meditation and connecting with the Akashic keepers, the record keepers, and getting the downloads of the light codes of some of the past lives that are going to be very important for you in this incarnation. Hypnotherapy is where your soul takes you by the hand and leads you to what you need to remember. And yeah, there's an Akashic aspect component of the portal's opening, there's no doubt, but it's much more direct between you and your soul. Why do I say that? Well, because I've done it so many times, I know what the source is. I can see the difference. I can feel the difference. So I can articulate it more so probably than a person who's on who's on like 2 hypnotherapy sessions or 3 in their entire life. And they've maybe done, if ever, if never, an Akashic record reading with a reader, right? So you're definitely involved when you're doing a hypnotherapy. You're involved. You can say, I don't want to see how I pass. I don't want to be... Like, I had a client who was a man, and she was a farmer in 1880 France, and she was married to a wonderful woman. She had a problem with always attracting toxic men. That was a big problem. So in her 2 incarnations... Because she had a lot of stuff we had to work on, a lot of stuff before we got to even the past life. There was a lot of blockages and traumas she had to go through before we got to a past life. So in one past life, the father figure she had was amazing in the 1850s, which is massively rare, right? In that part of the world, in that timeline, because of misogyny being so prevalent in the 1800s, and no matter where you went. And anyway, I'm not going to bore you with that one, but the one that excited me was her being a farmer, married to a woman, pretty woman. She said, my God, my wife is beautiful. Can you imagine that? And it's a mind fuck for her, because she's definitely a woman. She's definitely heterosexual, and she's realizing her life as a man who's in love with his wife, pretty woman, and he has a daughter. I'm going to say he now. And she had gotten, he had gotten hurt, really badly hurt. There was some kind of injury in his late 50s, and she was on her deathbed. And I said, do you want to proceed to see how that works? She goes, no. And so I pulled her out. But at the end of the session, I said, what did you learn? And it's not unusual for clients to be so overwhelmed because they're being slammed with all kinds of different perceptions of their own identity. You got to understand, she was a man, happily married to his wife, and then passing away, right? And leaving a loving daughter behind, and a loving wife. And she couldn't, compute really quickly. So I said, well, what it is that you have problems with men in this incarnation, but what did you learn? I don't know. And I said that good men exist. In fact, you were a good man. She went, oh my God, yeah, I was a good man. I was a very good man. I go, yeah. Did you cheat on your wife? No. Did you love your wife? Yes. Did you love your daughter? Yes, I loved my daughter. then you were a good man. What does that mean? She said that good men exist. Bingo. The one of the Akashic readings that I did in actually a tarot reading, which was weird because that doesn't happen to me a lot, was that I saw one of my clients who was a druidess. And I was having to download while I was doing the reading. I go, can you just, I'm sorry, I need to pause right now. I'm getting a download on a past life with you and this person. Because this was a twin flame reading I was doing. And she went, okay, please I need to, just give me like 5 minutes. And I was quiet. And I started getting a download of her as a good looking woman, actually. A tall woman, like 5'7", which in my opinion is tall. And she had dark hair, and I got a sense of, it wasn't Ireland, but it was Celtic. The Romans were there, and she had ashes, like coal eyes. She would use coal around her eyes, but there were ashes on her body, and it was ceremonial. It wasn't that she was dirty, not at all. And this general, and she was a leader of her people. And this general, it was definitely a general, a Roman general, that was here with a legion, I guess, or whatever. And she was captured in a way, but not really. And they were being intimate, but she was laughing at him, laughing her ass off. And he wanted to subjugate her. And it was almost like they were standing hip to hip, standing up against, and there was a tent. And she was just derisive. And she started, and when I told her what it was, what I was seeing, she started laughing, going, we haven't changed. That sent chills up my spine because she could completely relate. And then she ended up coming back to me on a text saying, I found the island. I found the island, and they did use ash. That was weird. So there's always going to be an answer. You just have to wait for it. Mine took 30 years, with the Egyptian past life. And this one was immediate because of the internet, now. Okay? So, okay. Amazing. It is. I think it's completely amazing. And the thing about it is that when you do plant medicine, it's not the same. It is not the same experience. It is a completely different experience. And in other words, you're typically not going to have linear past life recall. It's going to be different things. It's going to be symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of purging. There's a lot of recognition. There's a lot of connecting the dots, almost like archetypes coming to you, parables, facts. It's like Polaroid pictures and little footages of film showing you things, and it's sometimes skipping off into something else and then coming back. It's different. Hypnotherapy is actually linear. It starts, and then it finishes when it's supposed to finish, and then moves right into the next life. So it's linear. Does that make sense? That's the difference I can talk about. Hi, love. How are you? Glambar. How are you? It's good to see you. You had some past lives that were pretty amazing. Speaking of which. Does anybody have any questions, by the way? Any questions at all? Yeah. Any questions at all? All right. Let me see what else. I'm trying to remember some other, because I'm putting together, to be honest with you, I'm putting together a book. Well, I mean, not yet. I mean, I'm getting the data, but I'm working on putting together a book on star seeds, past life memories on other planets, on other dimensions, and how we fell. And I like to talk about that a lot because it's going to help you. I'm hoping it's going to help you start to journal so that you can excavate what's coming to you and how to put it, putting the pieces, the missing pieces together. so that you can get more and more clarity rather than getting a download that most likely could be a past life, and then you just skating away from it and letting it never evolve. And the way you let it evolve is you write it down. So like, for example, when I do an Akashic reading, I'm in meditation, I have my notebook next to me and I'm writing like crazy. Sometimes with my eyes closed, because I'm getting downloads at a speed that's, sometimes I can't even write as fast as what's coming in. And I gotta just ask them to stop, because it's just pouring. It's like somebody just opened a tap water and it's rushing out. It's pretty intense, actually, in a good way. I'm not complaining. I mean, I love it, but I can't write as fast as they want me to. Is the problem. But when you go into beginnings of, say, somatic past lives, what does that mean? Well, I illustrated one where I'm literally walking and I'm remembering a cowboy past life. Now, why do you think that was important? There was no real meaning to it. What it taught me as it happened was that I could get a past life memory from a movement, a somatic movement that would somehow generate a past life memory that mirrored what I was doing in this incarnation, and that it was as valid as any other recollection. That I could eye gaze with a lover or whatever, right? And remember something. That I could then also go into a hypnotic state, to go into that realms and breach the subconscious mind and go even higher than that, and pull down memories from past lives that were going to be helpful to me, allies to my progression. And quite often, many of these past lives were not pleasant. They were brutal. And as I got wiser and wiser in my journey, and kinder to myself, I realized that the reason I was being shown, say, brutal past life, was to realize that one of the reasons I didn't want to use my power, for example, was because I was afraid of it, because I had misused it. I've said this before. That might not be your story. Maybe your story is you're being burned at the stakes, thrown on the rack. So maybe your story is that whenever you spoke out, it turned out not to be safe. So you started feeling as if to speak out was not safe. So that would be a problem in this incarnation, wouldn't it? Especially if you're like, what's my mission? What's my mission? How do I find out my mission? Well, your mission is being muzzled by the scars of these past lives. There was a client of mine who was a Mongolian, and who would put people on an upside down cross, if you get my, because and this Mongolian warrior that she was, because she was a woman, she's a woman in this incarnation, the taste of conqueror, the taste of human, BLOOD. The next incarnation, she was a tan-skinned older Anunnaki, white lion hair, beard, muscular, a race of humanoids created, a race of passions, expressions of power, and a real strange bond of subjugation of the submissive. And this created, they were creating all kinds of things, creating tsunamis, creating all kinds of shit. And that's a lot of power. So when we remember these things, right? When we remember, what does it tell us? Well, 6D consciousness in those times didn't mean that every sentient being in those high realms of dimensions were good. So then that makes us and that makes absolute sense. Wasn't Lucifer up on the highest realm you could imagine and purposely fell to be an asshole? Yeah, we could agree. What's the difference between us now and us then? Well, what I feel is that the ascension for us is the fact that we are going to stay in the highest most beautiful, heart-centered truth of our incarnation, and we will never regress into these lower, ugly, greedy vibrations ever again. So when we're in 5D, we're going to be in 5D, we're going to be kumbaya. We might have some jealousy, some envy, shit like that, but nothing crazy like famine, wars, and greed, avarice. Those things are going to not be part of our consciousness. We'll have a couple problems, but nothing crazy like we're dealing with now. So to me, ascension, and what I'm seeing, is that we're not regressing. And I keep talking about that in different ways. I struggle with journaling. I don't know why I fight it so much. I would love to buy the book, which, oh, that's very kind of you. That's cool. Are we doing the reading today? Yeah, I'll do a reading. I'm not sure. I'm kind of like going with the flow. My high self said I was afraid of assessing my gifts because I was afraid of building more karma. Actually, you're going to build up more karma by not by but okay, listen to what you just said. Just listen very carefully. Close your eyes. My higher self said I was afraid of assessing my gifts. That afraid, because I was afraid, did you see that twice, of building more karma? That fear is building karma as we speak. To be honest with you, you should be terrified. I'm being funny. But you should be seriously concerned that you think that by not accessing your quote-unquote gifts, I hate that word because, again, it feeds the ego, the tools, the skill sets you have, right? You have skill sets. You are actually incurring karma due to the fear of using it. Does that make sense? So that is a problem. That's not going to be easy. But anyway, so I was, but I'm not sure what you mean. I was, or you're no longer doing that. So tell me more about that. That's why I did the hypnosis. I'm saying, okay, I'm realizing the hypnosis. I gotcha. Did you do it with me or someone else? I'm only asking because I hope you're not assuming I know your name. Like, if I know you, I wouldn't know your code name. Typically some people just, I don't know. Let me see, what else? The concept, okay, gotcha. Someone else. The concept of race is also something people have trouble with. Like I did an AKASHIK reading. Race and gender. I did an AKASHIK reading for a man. And he's not an evolved man. I'm going to be straight up. Okay, he's not. He believes in reincarnation. There's a reason with that, and I'm not going to go into it. But when he found out that he had died at childbirth as a woman, it was a massive knee-jerk reaction. What confirmed for him that I wasn't full of shit was that I saw him with a connection with wolves, and that he had saved a she-wolf and her pups, and they were part of his tribe, if you will. Like he didn't trust humans so much as he trusted the wolves, and the wolves ended up taking care of him, meaning they would bring animals to him as an offering, if you know what I'm saying. They were taking care of him because he had raised all of them, basically, their mother, the she-wolf, and the pups, into a new pack. And that was ancient state. That was back, like 500-600 years ago. So he connected with that, but he did not connect with being a woman. Similarly, some people might get shocked if they are entrenched in being Asian, black, white, whatever, and here I come with an Akashic record reading saying you were a blue person. Okay, I can believe that. Okay, they'll believe they're blue. But the minute I say you were African American, or you were Japanese, you were samurai, or whatever, then they go, because it's going counter to their identity of their current race they embody, or gender in the case of that guy, right? And that is problematic. If you catch yourself doing that, that's problematic. That's not healthy. That is not ascending. That is not a spiritual ascension. If you knee jerk, oh my God, it's not okay. Okay? That makes sense? I recently found you. Oh, very cool. So, for example, I had a woman who was African American, and she was one of the founders of Atlantis. And she was blonde with very long, pale blonde hair, very large blue eyes, crystalline, sky blue, crystal crown, clear quartz, white diaphanous gown, walking, opening doors. I mean, the temple was huge. Like, huge. Tall. Like, beyond tall. Taller than anything in the ancient world we've ever seen. Well, fuck, they had the technology. And she was walking barefoot, and as she raised the bottom of, I could see her Achilles heel and her pink heel lifting, and where she walks, life grows, and flowers were literally growing. But she was in 7D. I'm not even sure she was Atlantean. Okay, I think she was a founder of Atlantis. Now, I've had 2 clients who were one of the founders of Atlantis. One was the one I just described, and the other one lives in South Africa. And again, I saw a woman with darker skin, long dark hair, dark eyebrows, magnificent luminous eyes, wearing a diaphanous white gown, lots of crystal, lots of white prismatic lights around her, and she had to walk through a portal, a time portal, where she stepped out of like 9D into, Atlantis to found it. She was one of the founders. Now, anybody would say to me, you're full of shit, but the problem is she'd been fascinated by Atlantis since she was a kid. And she said to me, I've had dreams of a woman with what you described. I've had dreams of that woman. I said, well, I guess it looks like you were having dreams of yourself. And so there was confirmation. I always get a confirmation. It's the weirdest thing when I do Akashic readings. Like, something will always come up. It's actually quite fascinating to me. Let me see here. Sometimes the past life is got a lot of what you would call mundane moments. Like, for example, a client I saw, World War II, a Japanese woman running streets in a kimono in wooden shoes. It's an awkward run. And she fell forward. Okay, she fell forward, and I think she was helped. But I think there was aerial attacks. The next life, she's a flamenco dancer in Argentina, and she falls in love with a bullfighter. Star-crossed lovers. He's with another woman. She's incredibly jealous. Let's just say it didn't end well for those two in bed. Let's just say. I'll keep it there. And then the next life, here she is as an Anunnaki. And worshipped by humans. Seen as a goddess. Is disgusted by humanoids. Disgusted. Does not like their looks or their fawning worshipping. Fear-filled. Human, SACRIFICES, as a gift to her. And she's studying to develop new DNA. She's there to study them, but they worship her. Now, there's a lot of data on that today. And the purpose is to improve the humanoid race. And unfortunately, it's to enslave. And that's how she fell. The next incarnation, she was an 18th century nun in the countryside. Brought to the convent pregnant. No one would know. She would give birth to a son to be raised elsewhere She would be a nun. She would be very old and feeble, having a hard time breathing, broken, shamed into that secret. In other words, she gave birth to a child, a son. It was taken out of her hands. She was brought to the convent, as you can imagine, 18th century, right? Think about this. She's pregnant. They steal the baby. She never sees it, never gets to hold it. She lives a very old, she's probably like in her 80s, 90s even. And her body, her lungs, she has problem breathing. And she perishes, she drops her body in massive shame because they never let her forget that she was a fallen woman the whole time she was in the convent. That kind of trauma is not a joke, right? I know you guys can figure out how bad that would have been, because there are two things happening. She loses her child, never knows what is done with it, doesn't know if the child grew up to be a young man, had children, her grandchildren, never got to see any of that, and was shamed her entire life. That's those kinds of memories. Why is that important? Well, because once you know where shame lies, because sometimes shame starts from a past life. It's not this one. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you another past life from the Akashic reading. Ice Age, trying to outrun the Ice Age, right? Makes sense, right? Learning to live with it, storing meat in holes, cave dwelling, high archways. She's an oppressed female. She's got 2 babies under 9 years old. Rough climate, living in skins, and there's abuse, hitting, dragging, graping. Finally, one day she's at the opening of the cave with her babies, and the sun is rising. It's before they waken in the cave, and she decides, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. I'm getting the fuck, I'm just going. And so for weeks she walked through the snow, and having stolen some meat, I guess, however she did it, whatever she could eat, with her babies. And they would shelter in whatever, caves, holes, whatever, until they came across a new tribe. And that tribe was good and welcoming, completely opposite of what she had left, what she was actually born into. And she thrived, and her kids thrived. And so after, I do the Akashic, I'll tell the client, well, what do you think? Well, in this case, what do you think that meant? And she said, I don't really know. And I said, well, it means that you had balls. You actually looked into the unknown, because you were like, I'd rather perish in the wilderness than deal with this daily abuse on myself and my children. I'd rather we go out there into the unknown and trust that whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen, and leave this toxic ass situation. Now, remember, this is caveman shit, right? And she fucking made it. She found a tribe of people by water, and it was warmer. Have you ever seen how it rains in one area? It's like hitting like crazy, cats and dogs. It's raining, and suddenly you drive out from another sector. It's like, whoa, what was that? Right? Well, it was kind of like that for her. And the people were kind. They looked different than her, but they accepted her and her children, and she thrived. They didn't show me what happened after that. There was no need, because the lesson was this: trust the unknown. Trust that to allow to be abused, to allow to think that there's nothing better, you are your own jailer. And you did it before in the most impossible situations. No GPS, my friends. Just walked out and let her instincts, where she was led, where the paths were easier to lead her to this other tribe. That's pretty amazing to me. Does that make sense? So there's massive respect, right? Any questions or comments? So I'm going to do some oracle reading. I don't know, maybe Mia left, I'm not sure. Hopefully not, but I'm going to do some oracle reading, and then we're going to go into it. Did you have any questions on Akashic readings and whatchamacallit, and hypnotherapy? Do you want to hear more about... Oh, good. Okay. Do you want to hear more about Akashic readings real quick before I let you guys go? I forgot to, before we go into Oracle, I'm going to say one thing that I didn't mention. Quite often, the first thing that is downloaded to me are spirit animals. So, for example, hang on. I'm going to share these animals, these power animals from one particular, a male client. Black dragon, gold, green eyes, gold lid. White peregrine falcon. It's white, cream, and tan peregrine falcon. It's a particular type of falcon. Griffin, white head of a horse, body, claws of a lion. So I said that is a spirit animal, but it's not a griffin in the classic way of a griffin. It's a griffin. It's a I'm not going to say a hybrid, but it's an animal from another planet. So it was a horse, a white horse, right? Shaking its mane and just like kneeing. But that horse turned into a lion body. And the last animal was a pale cream coyote. And there's meaning on all of those. There's meaning, but I'm not going to bore you with the meanings because they're not meanings for you. The next thing I saw for him was Apache dancing like a Geronimo scarf, Geronimo, around his head. And he's bare-chested with deerskin pants, something like that. And he is going into a raid for settlers. In this case, it's just a bunch of European men. And he's carrying a rifle, a tomahawk, a blade, ambushing at night. And it's not about honor. It's about extermination. The next scene, because he keeps doing that, that's his thing. He's actually doing what I call guerrilla warfare, right? The next scene, he's being chased by soldiers. Again, remember, Apache, right? He's being chased by soldiers. He's on a bay horse. No doubt, bay horse. It's his horse. Riding hard. Utah, Arizona. I'm not sure. And he's about to do a Thelma and Louise, if you know what I mean. But he's not. He doesn't want to do that to his horse, but he does not want them to have the hands on... he doesn't want his horse to be captured by these people. Why? Because after many various types of, like, for example, Civil War, the Indian Wars, what the U.S. Army would do with horses, I don't know if you know that, is they would corral the horses all and exterminate all the horses, okay? So this horse is precious to him. Very similar to like how the Arabs connect with their Arabian horses. In fact, the Arabs are known, especially the Bedouins, to allow the horses to be in the tents with them overnight. Okay, they love their horses. So he had that kind of connection with his bay. And he's riding hard. Utah, Arizona, gets off the horse really fast and whips the shit out of that horse. Like, get the fuck out of here. Just go, run. And then he starts running towards the soldiers as if, and they're thinking, is he coming at us? He runs towards them because then he does an abrupt spin on his heels. And he runs towards the cliff, and he actually just catapults himself off the cliff. And it's almost like a scene of his arms out, the final cry. And he just lights out. Okay? And that was important. Okay, that was an important life. Because this was a man who had this fierce connection with his freedom and was never going to allow himself to be subjugated. And that end, and if you've all seen Thelma and Louise, some humans are, like, no, not no, this way or no, But what was interesting, guess what he said to me? Because that was such a far out scene. I was like, sometimes when I get these readings, I'm like, how the fuck am I going to deliver this to this client? Like, this is deep. And the client said, you know what? I said, no, what? I just came back from Arizona. And we were with my family, my sisters, my mother. And I don't know why I sat in this particular valley and I started crying and crying and crying. This is a grown-ass man telling me this. He said, I feel a complete connection with New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona. I go, that's insane. So he physically he'd never been there before, and he went there, and it could have been a soul retrieval, unbeknownst to him. So there's certain countries some of us have to return to. Like for me, it's Scotland, Glastonbury, Ireland, for example. Okay? Where I know I'll be divinely led to the right places for me to have something. One of my sisters told me, you're not going to believe this, but this place in Ireland, I want to live with my husband. I just remembered I had a past life there. I fucking totally forgot. And it was like a light bulb moment. So these incarnations, whether you do it through the AKASHIK or you do it through hypnotherapy, are really, like, please respect those journeys and these messages. And please be massively grateful to your soul, to your guides, to the record keepers, to divine source. So I'm going to go right into the oracle. Do you have any questions before I start? Yeah. Any questions? Okay, cool. All right, no questions? Okay, so let's go right into it. So I'm going to pull out, let me see here. I'm going to pull out a couple cards. One's from the crystal mandala. Hopefully it's good. Last time I pulled one, I was like, oh my God, this is the first time I don't agree with Alana Fairchild, but I'm hoping it's good. And then let's begin. So usually what I do is I have you guys pick, and I think with the energy of the room, I'm going to ask you to pick. So I'm going to ask you to give your angels, guides, and allies permission to guide you in the session. And then you're going to pick from the top, bottom, or middle. And majority win. Top, bottom, or middle. Majority wins. Okay? Let me turn off the heat. It's bloody hot sunlight. Bloody hell. Okay? Top. Okay. Anybody else? Top. Top. Okay, I'm going for it. All right, so it's one card. So this is number 38, which is 11. Goddess Lakshmi and Dandrike Agate. Oh, fuck, I've never heard of that crystal. It's called Her Golden Grace, and it's Crystal Goddesses 888. Again, 38, which is 11, which, to be honest with you, it's the muzzle lion, but on the high note of 11, right? Or in this case, 11, it's 2. And 2 connects to the moon, but it also connects to the high priestess in tarot, okay? So let me go ahead and read 38. Excuse me, let me see where. And I know it's not a deck I've ever really, used that often, but it's an interesting deck. Okay, again, Goddess Lakshmi, 38, and Dandritik Agate. I don't know how to say it. Agate. Whatever. We bring you the empowerment of her golden grace, Divine Mother Lakshmi, who brings blessings of enlightenment and prosperity, beauty, and good fortune, smiles upon you now. Open your mind to the reality of divine generosity without limit. Open your heart to feel worthy of her love. When you allow her to grant you bounty, to bless you with her golden grace, she is empowered to shine her divine beauty in the world, to heal, uplift, inspire, and enchant the souls in need. So that tells me that if you go on my profile page, right, you should go directly to Mantra for Abundance. You'll see Mantra for Abundance, and you want to look at the one that I did called Lakshmi. You'll see it. It's right there. Okay. Learn that mantra and do it 108 times. I give you the instructions. I believe I did that in the Lakshmi mantra. The generous golden grace of the divine feminine has its own way of accomplishing its purpose to uplift, heal, and inspire the hearts of humanity. Where there is fear, which prevents a soul from being open and allowing life to happen, the Divine Mother may respond by wrenching whatever is obstructing the flow of love out of the way. If her fierce intervention is needed to ensure freedom for the soul, then this is what she expresses. Sometimes the hardest path is what will truly free a soul from needing to repeat a pattern. I have to repeat this. Listen to this. Listen. Sometimes the harder path is what will truly free a soul from needing to repeat a pattern. That means reincarnating, doing the same looping shit that has you in despair. So it means throwing yourself into the mosh pit of fear to self-discovery, to break overt and covert patterns. Okay, let's continue. Sometimes, however, what the harder path does not accomplish for the soul is not particularly helpful. If a soul would become more enslaved in fear at the prospect of her fierceness, or could benefit as much or more from a softer intervention, then the Universal Mother will employ a gentler method. Yeah, sometimes you have to coerce people. Sometimes you have to coerce people. Does that make sense? I mean, sometimes you have to come from a geisha approach to yourself, or a motherly, soft-spoken approach, a Kuan Yin approach to yourself, to your beloved, to your children. And sometimes you need to be a Kali. The softer touch of the Universal Mother is the warming glow of her golden grace. This grace is powerful. It can invoke reactions to sometimes gratitude and wonder, but sometimes giving rise to issues about receiving, self-worth, and even fear. Did you hear that? Fear of prosperity. Do you know why this is important? Because what if in a past life you were royal? And that's not to kiss your ass, I'm just saying. What if you were royal and you were a complete jerk and you actually had the let him eat cake mentality? You would come back with the fear of prosperity, because you would have known that in that past life you did not do well with abundance. You were not generous. You did not have any honor or integrity or generosity of being empathic to other people's suffering. And so, of course, after a few incarnations, you would come in with the fear of prosperity because it had been mishandled. If you have come far enough on the spiritual path, you will know that love, even in its most gentle expression, will trigger the release of pain. Did you hear that? Even in its most gentle expression will trigger the release of pain. That's why sometimes when you make love, right, with your beloved, and you're eye-locked, eye-gazed, both of you may explode into tears. It's a somatic release. It started in the root chakra, but then rippled up your chakras into your heart, exploding into tears. Sometimes it's simply the fact that you're giving sacred space to your lover, non-judgmental, and your lover grabs you around the waist, putting their head on your hips, your belly, on their knees, just collapsing and realizing you see them and you don't judge them. The mind may desire the abundance, love, beauty, and prosperity of the divine goddess Lakshmi, and yet upon being offered the very thing that is desired, it can retreat in fear, doubt, and feeling of unworthiness. What does that mean? It means you may actually meet the love of your life. Your beloved has met you, and you are the love of their life. And yet they're sure it can't last, based on their past, quote unquote, failures of their past relationship. They are sure it can't last. That something is going to fall apart. The very thing that is desired, it can retreat in fear, doubt, and feeling of unworthiness. But there is a kindness in her golden grace. She offers what the soul can receive. Her love stimulates growth and healing, but always with compassion. If your mind and heart has been used to toughen love, the unexpected pleasure of her golden grace may give rise to an almost overwhelming sense of gratitude. You may even question whether or not it is too much. After a long period of struggle, learning to feel safe in a more effortless and gentle flow can take some time. Don't let fear convince you that if you receive, another must go without. Did you hear that? This is very interesting. Let me go back. After a long period of struggle, learning to feel safe in a more effortless and gentle flow can take some time. Don't let fear convince you that if you receive, another must go without. That's lack energy. It means that you feel that it's the concept of you can't have it all. It's the concept that if you're happy, then somebody else must suffer. Where did we get that from? Well, Orthodox teachings. In the golden grace of the Universal Mother, there is only abundance for all according to what serves love and what the soul can receive. Too much is too much. Yet if you allow her, the Golden Mother will help you open in trust to receive more from her without condition. That means that you have to surrender unconditionally to the gifts given to you. That means that you have to have the courage to win. What does that mean? To have love, health, and wealth. To be with someone who sees you, adores you. To know that it can last until you both drop your bodies. That you can have wealth until and health. That you can have it all. And that no one's going to suffer because you have it all. You're actually an example that it's possible to have it all. You become an example to other people, and it's like a butterfly effect, in a sense. If you are feeling as though there are limits in your life that you would like to transcend, perhaps in particular any limits you feel regarding abundance, prosperity, and good fortune and spiritual alignment, then you will be open to the message the Oracle gives you now. The Golden Mother includes you in her plan to spread the bounty of life throughout the world. As you receive from her, you will be empowered to share her vibrant grace with others. Open your heart to her golden, smiling face and allow love's abundance to fill your world. If in your heart you have felt there are better times ahead, even though you may not have a particular reason for it other than a feeling in your heart, the Oracle brings you confirmation. In other words, it's interesting too, because when you're a spiritualist, right? And when you believe in all of the things that you and I believe in, and you take it for granted that everyone else believes in it, and you can't understand why they don't, you might actually think to yourself, and this is very dangerous, that there are people suffering in the world. And how dare you be happy? Or that your best friend lost the love of her life or his life. How dare you be happy? And that's not how it's supposed to be. If in your heart you have felt there are better times ahead, even though you may not have a particular reason for it other than a feeling in your heart, the Oracle brings you confirmation. Even if you are yet to realize the touch of her golden grace in your life, you shall do so. The rising sun of her golden beauty shall shine upon you, ushering in a time of love, prosperity, and peace. That's incredible. That was beautiful. I agree. Any questions or any comments? I'm glad you loved it, VDRS. All right, anything else? Okay, so I'm going to put this card away again. It was 38, Goddess Lakshmi. The crystal is dendritic agate. Oh, I finally got it. Agate. That's what it was. My mind. I've been like doing a lot of readings today, and I'm like a little like not 100% here, but I wanted to do this like usual. I love doing these readings for you guys, and I was feeling very, very compelled to share with you the concept of hypnotherapy and AKASHIK readings and so on. It was like they wouldn't leave me alone, so what the hell. So let's get another oracle deck. This is from the Blue Angel Oracle deck by Tony Carmine Salerno. And it's a quick deck, okay? So we're going to do it again. Again, majority win, top, bottom, and middle. Let's see what comes. No question, I'm speechless. Thank you, Tony. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Mia. All right, when you're ready, top, bottom, and middle, let's look at the next card. And then we'll have maybe maybe two more cards, and we'll call it a night. If you want me to. Middle, bottom. Oh, shit. Middle, bottom. I need one more to break the tie. To break it. Top, bottom, or middle. Or top, middle. Okay, I'm going with middle. All right, lapis. We had that last time. Oh, good, middle. Okay, we had this last time, believe it or not. So there's definitely a message, and some of you follow me, so you've had this card before. It's number 45. 45 is 9, God's perfect master number. The card is called Lapis Excelsis. Lapis Excelsis. So there's a beautiful stream. It's a golden river. It's pure gold. And what borders it is beautiful, bucolic, green fields and teal green. It's almost otherworldly, definitely otherworldly. So this is Archangel Michael, and let me read you what it says. Perspective, page 73. A positive transformation is taking place within you through a union of complementary opposites. Everything in life has its counterpart, and both can only exist together. In essence, like two sides of a coin, they are one. As you start to see and embrace both sides, you will find that an obstacle you have struggled with for a very long time is not insurmountable. It is a mountain of opportunities with a golden river flowing through it. As perceptions change, reality changes, and we can see the flowing tides of creative energy that is life. Beautiful ideas float through the universe in pathways of light, waiting for the perfect moment to be born. Did you hear that? Because that's really, really important. Beautiful ideas float through the universe in pathways of light, waiting for the perfect moment to be born. That means that your book that you haven't birthed isn't ready. It's still being written. It's being written in the AKASHIK. It's being written with other light beings, your guide team. It's being written in your heart chakra, in your head, in your dreams, and then it'll be time to birth it. Similarly, if you are in separation with your twin, there are experiences that the twin must have, and you cannot be part of it in this particular timeline. There's a reason why you're in separation. Okay? Some of it is based on the fact that the twin doesn't see their value, or the timing is wrong, or it's kind of like a mixture of both, which the result is they're not ready. And it's that kind of unconditional surrender that you have to master. Because some of you come to me as clients and I say to you, well, when did you meet? 2 years ago. Shit, you just started the journey. Why are you complaining? It just began. What, you think you're going to be happily married? If you were twin rays, you wouldn't be talking to me. But you're twin flames. And yeah, the runner chaser is going to be, it's begun. Twin rays meet and they never separate. But the whole experience in this particular incarnation of twin flames is to graduate into twin ray. It's very important. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is a perfect line. I hope you guys got, and again, I'm going to upload this. I uploaded this morning's live which was very interesting. It was based on trauma, which you may want to listen to it. Finally, my favorite deck in the whole world, which is sold out on TikTok, and I know why, is called the Kali Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. And you guys know this is my favorite deck. So again, same thing. We're going to go into it. And I'm going to shuffle the cards. And again, top, bottom, or middle. Top, bottom, or middle. When you're ready. Top, perfect. I'm going to go with top. This is called Kali Yantra, number 12. 12 in Kabbalah numerology is the sacrifice and the victim. You can't... The essence of that number means you cannot sacrifice yourself and put yourself last and overgive, because what happens is when you do that to too much of a level, and don't mistake what I'm saying, okay, when I'm saying it. If you overgive without balancing it out within yourself, sometimes it's good to overgive. It's okay. Don't worry about that. But the problem is if you overgive, never giving yourself. If you deplete yourself it's almost like putting gas in your friend's car, but never putting gas in your car, and eventually you run out of gas. It's that simple. It's the best analogy I can come up with at damn near 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay? So this is called Kali Yantra, and she has her hands in a mudra, okay? And I'm going to read it to you. So it's number 12. By the way, 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is the number of the balance between the body, mind, and spirit, right? All right, so let's look at this and let's read it. And it's been a while since we had this card, so that's interesting. And to be honest with you, we may pull another card because I'm being told to do that, so I'm going to go with it. All right, Kali Yantra. She is your inner power to evoke a positive shift in your circumstances. If anything required for success be lacking, the Divine Mother shall provide it, bridging the divide between you and the manifestation of your intentions. You are crossing a critical spiritual threshold. She is the true guardian and guide. Stay focused on what matters to your heart. Let me repeat that. Stay focused on what matters to your heart, and you shall remain faithfully connected to her protective presence within. Allow distractions to fall away and continue to commit to your soul journey. A more beautiful experience of your life path awaits. It sounds like esoteric poetry, right? But what she's saying is that stay focused on your bliss. Joseph Campbell said it best. Follow your bliss and it'll all work out. You may have moments of poverty, don't get me wrong, or moments of like, what the fuck? How did I end up here? But if your heart is what led you there, not self-destruction, but your heart, and you're in faith that you were led there, right? Then you have to trust that the universe has your back, and you have to trust that what you were led there for, the fruit of that trust will be revealed to you, and it won't be long. It won't be like 3 to 4 years from now. It'll be within maybe a week, a month, at best, at the longest, 2 months, at most. A yantra is a sacred geometric representation of the particular reality of a specific divine being. Here, it is a symbolic and actual entry point into the sacred realm, the inner world, the universe of Kali. In gazing at a yantra, allowing our minds to settle and focus upon it, the soul can turn the subtle inner key that opens the gateway to merging with the divine. It is a visual trigger that opens the inner doors of higher perception and mystical reconnection to our divine nature. Contemplating a yantra is a method for mystic meditation, the meditation that brings the heart into unity with the higher consciousness of Kali within. As we activate the yantra within our beings and connect with the divine energy it offers, the enlightened body of the deity constellates itself through us. The clearing we are within ourselves and the more connected we become with the deity, the stronger the multi-level, multi-dimensional, multi-directional mandala of grace shines forth through us for the spiritual benefits of all being. In a reading, this signifies that Kali is already working with you. Hang on, my cat's like yelling. I'll be right back because he's bloody hell. Come on, boo-boo. Let's go. Come on, cutie. Let's go. Come on. Come on, boo-boo. Let's go. All right. So let me continue. This Kali yantra is, in particular, is a signifier of the downward flow of grace. It is oriented to the material world and all matters related. It is the cosmic trip switch for spiritual energy to be attracted toward earth. It unveils a divine luminosity beneath appearances and when needed heals and transforms material reality to align with higher divine will. So you may want a house. Let's say you want to buy a house. And you want a house in California. And then you end up in Italy. And you're like, wait, hang on, this is insane. I'm buying a house in Italy. I'm actually referring to the movie Under the Tuscan Sun. So, I mean, the universe agreed you needed a house, but it didn't agree you needed to be in California. It agreed that you needed Mediterranean weather in the Mediterranean, not in California. Does that make sense? So the refinement of the vision you have, like, don't get bogged down by what you wrote. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, like Coach K, you gotta kind of let it go. Like, so your thing could be X, Y, and Z, and the universe says, oh yeah, you're good on the X, but the Y, yeah, no. Or Z, out. We're giving you something else. The healing that can emerge through it is unrestricted because she is the spacious vastness of primordial being. She is the birth of all phenomena, which permeates all phenomena and can transform it in all according to her divine will. In a reading, this indicates a transformation of a physical concern so it aligns with the spiritual will of the universe. Wow. It's a fucking hell of a paragraph. The downward-facing triangular formation in the center of the yantra symbolizes the regenerative power of the divine feminine. You only have to look at how our Earth Mother recovers after fire, flood, and famine to recognize the wisdom power of the divine feminine to renew and restore, even after tremendous destruction. The color red is the blood red of life force, Kali's preferred fuel for destruction and rebirth. Gray represents the liminal realms, neither the black or night, nor the brightness of day, but the place between. Many cultures recognize this as the medial realm, a place where magic is most potent. The most powerful time, right? And you've heard this how many millions of times? My father used to do this. He'd be awake from 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning to think. I'd see the cherry red of his cigarette in the middle of the night because I had to go to the bathroom. And I'd see him in the living room. And I'd go, are you okay? He'd go, yeah, I'm just thinking. And one day I sat across from him. I said, why are you thinking? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, because everyone's asleep. It's a quiet energy. I get to really hear what's being guided to me, right? So if you can't sleep, instead of watching TikTok, or God bless, I love TikTok, don't get me wrong, but you may want to meditate and see why you were awakened. And these awakening, these insomnic moments that could last 3 months, 6 months, hell, a year, is because they want to talk to you. Gray represents the liminal realms, neither the black of night nor the brightness of day, but the place between. Many cultures recognize this as the medial realm, a place where magic is most potent. Although Kali is associated with the waning moon cycles and darkest night, she is also a medial goddess, a soul doula, a birth and death mother, safely guiding us through the transitions and thresholds of our inner and outer lives. In a reading, this indicates that there is power in feeling as though you no longer belong to the past nor are anchored fully in a new way. Kali will manifest her will in the spaces of a knowing, molding, and guiding you from within, so your path will be fulfilling to your heart. The subtle channels of energy unlocked through intentional engagement with yantras are further empowered through the placement of hands in a particular posture called mudra. By the way, on my profile page, scroll and look. I have a whole series of different mudras for different reasons. The Kali Mudra is created by interlocking your finger and placing the left thumb over the right with the index finger together and extended to an upward pointing position. The energy channels of the body are more readily permeated with Kali's essence of fearlessness and strength through assuming this posture. The strong, direct nature of the mudra with the left thumb on top generates clarity of action from feminine wisdom and receptivity rather than masculine logic, and will to direct, Let your instincts rather than your logic lead you forward at this time. Did you hear that? Let your instincts, not your gut, your heart. Instinct. That word is more primal. So and I'm a writer, right? And I love words. So it's not your instinct, though it is a marriage between intuition and instinct. Instinct is like a bird going back to the south when the winters come, right? That's instinct. Intuition is a calling to a place, a person, or country, or desire, or training. That's intuition. It's a download. And those two are coupled and interlocked to propel you, if you allow it, to the next chapter, or or even to the next volume of your life. Meaning you've done that book of stagnation, fear, lack energy, apathy. Yeah, that book, you read it and you're actually burning it. Now you're writing a brand new book. Yeah. In connecting with the yantra amplified by the mudra, we are powerfully invoking Kali on a human level that empowers us to use physical, emotional, and psychological obstacles and pain to broker our transformation. As you become increasingly attuned to the feeling and sensation of Kali's presence, you will be able to sense her power coursing through your subtle body as you assume the mudra and view the yantra with conscious intentions to connect with her. This was the card you gave me in California. Are you kidding me? If you have been feeling weak or vulnerable, remember that you are a powerful divine being. You do not want to act from fear. I'm going to say it again because I think for the guys in the back of the room, right? If you have been feeling weak or vulnerable, remember that you are a powerful divine being. You do not need to act from fear. Instead, trust the inner guidance of the heart as to how and when to act. Finally, this oracle is a notice of supreme protection. If you suspect that you've been the subject of negative energy, work, or projections from others, that you are being blocked or sabotaged intentionally or otherwise, the oracle of Kali Yantra is the medicine of clearing and protection that shall nullify the effect. By the way, on the side note, if people are really fucking with you, voodoo tata spells, they don't last. Ever, number one. That's why people have to do it again and again, number one. Number two, very few people are good at it. Very few people are good at that shit. Okay? That's why I don't like you looking, oh, well, I'm going to do the twin flame candle burning, see what string burns. That's pony, and it's a pony show. If you want to do it for fun with your girlfriends, enjoy. But don't fucking believe in that bullshit, because that's not how it works. It's a lot more complex than that, my friend. Okay? That's why cord cutting with a twin doesn't work. If it worked, believe me, half of us in this room right now would have done it successfully and gone on about our business. There's a lot more to finding out if you're in a twin flame journey than 2 candles and string. I hope you're laughing because it's funny shit. It really is. Scrying on an obsidian mirror with water, yeah, that shit works. Like learn what works and what doesn't. Okay? Like learn the tools of the trade that really work and those that are just illusions and games. There's no need to dwell upon negative workings of power, nor to be intimidated by worldly authority. Place your faith in the ultimate power of the divine. Did you hear that? So, because I get clients, believe it or not, that come to me going, have I been cursed? Have I been cursed? Okay? And so listen to what it says, and then I'll explain to you further. There's no need to dwell upon negative workings of power, nor be intimidated by worldly authority, meaning a high voodoo priestess. And somebody told you, because it's always somebody, because it's never your best friend that tells you, a really good friend that tells you you've been cursed. It's usually an asshole that has some nefarious, negative feelings about you. That's, oh, you've been cursed, right? Usually that's who it comes from. Place your faith in the ultimate power of the divine. What does that mean? It means call on Archangel Michael, call on God and go, look, I feel like I've been cursed and I need your protection. And that will be asking you, she'll receive. Now, on the side note of curses, right? Which is something we need to talk about. I bring it up a lot because it really messes people up. You have no idea how terrified people are. Does this shit work? Yes. How many people are really good at it? Not that many. And I don't want to bring up the obvious of the BLOOD that is very much part of the way it works. And because that is asked of those types of energies, right? They are not lasting, one, and two, the boomerang is fucking brutal for anyone who attempts to do it on anyone else. So I'll give you an example. So, and this is totally going off track, but it's on the track. The CIA and the KGB used remote viewing to spy on each other. I can't speak about what happened in the KGB, but I can tell you the men that were hired here on American soil, from what I've read, they all passed away from various brutal cancers. Okay? You don't come out without paying the price, just so you know. So don't worry. And the reason why it works, another reason, the voodoo dolls, you remember the voodoo dolls? Well, the way a curse would be done, really most of it was just leaving some kind of amulet that people knew was connected to a curse, and they leave it on the staircase, underneath your bed, whatever. And then the person would do the rest of the work. They'd freak the fuck out. And then they'd start, like falling down the stairs, bumping their head. In other words, they started manifesting all of it themselves, for the most part. But in terms of, does it work? Well, not very many people know how to do it. Do spells work? Be careful in using these things because you can go in the wrong direction. There are sigils that are fabulous, but again, a sigil should be used for yourself, or until or somebody you love says, could you just give me a symbol of my healing, and then you can co-create with their permission a sigil, for example, a symbol. There's nothing wrong with that. Does that make sense? All right. So the mantra that you can repeat is Om Shrim. Actually, hang on. Om Krim. Hang on, because I can't read the. Yeah. Om Krim Kalikaye Namaha. The Lakshmi mantra that I have, I think it's Om Shrim Rim Klim Lakshmi Swaha. That I've recorded on my. If you go on my profile page, you'll see different things like hypnotherapy. Sex magic, you'll see twin flames, you'll see all these tabs where there's one called mantras for abundance, and you can look at that, and there's the Lakshmi mantra, you'll see it. Okay. This was an incredible. Any questions on this particular card? Any questions at all? Okay, so I'm going to do one more card on Kali. I don't know why, but I was told to do another one, so I'm going to trust. Usually I don't do that, but let's go ahead and do it. Ready? All right. So thank you for liking the live. And if you can't, share the live if you want to. I mean, whatever. I mean, I figure the people that are here are the ones that need to hear the message. But if you want to, go ahead and do it. If not, we're good. So top, bottom, or middle, please. Top, bottom, or middle when you're ready. Majority wins. Top, bottom, or middle? Top. Okay, I need at least three more. Bottom. Middle. Oh, come on, guys. I need one more to break it. Top, bottom, and middle. Come on. Top, bottom, or middle? Top, top. You got it. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, this is another interesting card. This is called Kalika Tantrika. This is 35. This is taking on karma. Number 8 is taking on karma. Why? Well, sometimes you didn't screw up in past lives. You were not using your power for the right reasons, let's be honest. I think we can name a few billionaires right now, many leaders right now who are fucking up, who have not used their power. So they're incurring massive, there aren't enough words to describe the karma they're incurring. I think you know who they are. But sometimes 8 isn't incurring karma from the fuckery of what one has done in a past life. Sometimes 8 is you incurring karma and betraying your voice to yourself. Gaslighting yourself, harming yourself, going against your heart and listening to other people's counsel based on their fear, your fear. That can actually get you into incurring karma where you have to return to right the wrongs of your own betrayal to yourself. So this is called Kalika Tantrika. 35. Our wild mother goddess overcomes duality, resting in the sweet spot of integration, healing, and creativity. She facilitates the overcoming of tension and conflict, birthing sacred solutions and evolutions into greater bliss. Kalika Tantrika is Kali. The Tantric queen, she overcomes all karma, realigns pathways when we have veered off course, reverses the momentum of negative uses of free will. I'm going to read that again. When we have veered off course, reverses the momentum of negative uses of free will and detaches draining energy cords, restoring us to full vitality. Her presence announces significant change and positive improvement in all aspects of your life, especially your spiritual life. The Tantra of Kali is a teaching of the eminence of the goddess. Her appearance in a reading indicates a time when the feminine principle must be in the dominant position. This is not a declaration that the feminine is superior. It is equal to the masculine, yet different. It is a recognition that the feminine is the holding and birthing energy. To shift from one paradigm or political structure, the feminine must lead. As Kali, she disrupts negative power structures and holds the space for something completely new to emerge from the rubble. The simplest way to describe the eminence of the goddess is that it's the deep respect for intuitive knowing. Did you hear that? It's the deep respect for intuitive knowing and action taken on the non-rational, yet deeply insightful instincts of the heart. This is not about being emotionally reactive. There are multiple expressions of the sacred tantric inversion, placing the sacred feminine in the leadership position and deconstructing patriarchy. We practice it when listening to our intuition with complete courage. Rather, did you hear that? We practice it when listening to our intuition with complete courage, rather than going against our inner knowing for the sake of logic. This feminine energy is embodied by men who have incarnated into masculine bodies in this timeline. It is also the birthright of the masculine who were before feminine incarnations, and us vice versa. This may mean a halting a path you wanted to travel, but now have come in to realize is not honoring of your heart. Who does this? This happens a lot to college kids. They go into college. They want to make their major is going to be law or philosophy or psychology. And after a year, they realize, but I don't want that. It's not me. And to be honest with you, they're put down by family members, by friends. You never stick to what you try. You always quit. It's like going to a banquet, a meal, and you've decided that you're going to try everything in the banquet, and you decide that you just take bites of the shrimp, and you realize, I'm not into shrimp. I thought I was into, not anymore. It's called curiosity. It's called tasting. It's called discernment. It's called, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist, but the bullshit is so big, I don't want to be a psychologist. I think I'm going to go into philosophy, anthropology. It's called intelligence. It's called discernment. And yet kids are put down for that in college. You never finish what you start. And it pressures people to complete programs they fucking hate. And that's a heartbreak. This may mean halting a path you wanted to travel but now have come to realize is not honoring of your heart. It could be breaking down of what has been established because it has become too restrictive and needs to be rebuilt in a new way, or perhaps released altogether. I thought I wanted to be a computer programmer. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to make fucking chocolates. I want to get the best cacao and make the best fucking chocolate on the planet. People have made money doing that. In fact, they're millionaires. Remember that which appealed to the... Listen, close your eyes when I read this. Remember that which appealed to the caterpillar is not going to tempt the butterfly. As the soul evolves, our needs and desire often undergo a profound transformation too. I used to want to go to India and Egypt. I don't want that anymore at all. I don't want to go there. I want to go to Nepal, Scotland, Ireland, Norway. I've developed. My tastes have changed. Does that mean I don't stick to my goals? No, it means that I evolve, and my goals evolve with me. Does that make sense? Tantric teachings resonate less with clean and tidy methodical approaches and more with wild, spontaneous, shamanic energies innately tuned to and responsive to life. The primal force of the feminine is moving you along your soul journey at present. To tune into that primal power requires loosening the mental grip over your life. Allow for more space, more flexibility. If your schedule is so tightly wound that every minute is accounted for, set the attention to slacken the reins. The feminine needs freedom. She cannot be crammed into minimal spaces and expected to thrive. I mean, she's not a fucking bonsai plant, for Christ's sake. He, right? If you try to control her, she will rebel. And when she is Kali, her rebellions topple kingdoms. It is impossible to heal and transform, even radically, without evoking her wrathful nature if you are open to her guiding presence. Her wrath is love, so we need not fear it. But it can certainly be a welcoming change of pace for powerful shifts to be able to happen with grace and ease. When Kali Tantrika arises in your reading, you are encouraged to listen to your gut. Let me just say this. I'm going to edit this. You are encouraged to listen to your heart. And allow for wisdom to emerge. It doesn't emerge from your belly and your intestines. It emerges from your heart. Okay? Your heart chakra is the seat of your soul. So you listen to your heart. And from that, wisdom emerges. Act according to instinct and let go of methods that do not resonate with your heart, even if your mind tells you that not following those methods would lead to failure. You hear that? Even if your mind tells you that not following the methods, those methods will lead to failure. The Tantra of Kali is the practice of unconditional trust in the feminine. Her ways are unpredictable, apparently ever-changing, and when she manifests as Kali, if you try to pin her down and control her, she's likely to lop off the offending appendage. Instead, we submit to her, entering into the black void of possibilities and not knowing, with the realization that even when we don't know what is going on, the divine feminine does. If we willingly open to her sacred knowledge rather than try to impose our will and logic and desire upon her, she will allow us what is going to work best. This is a time when the heart knowing must lead above the intellectual assessment of things. Do you understand why she's saying, why this is a truth? You realize, right, that the 3D brain that we actually assess logic is based on massive trauma, brainwashing, dogmatic idea. How the fuck are you going to trust this as a thing? But the heart's never been fucked with. And you will say, well, Tony, it has been fucked with. That's why I have trauma. I can't love. No, that's your monkey mind. Don't confuse your monkey mind locking your heart down. Don't confuse that with the heart. Because the minute you say, yes, the heart flings open and is filled with love. And you know that. You know I'm not lying because you've experienced that before. And if you can't resonate with that, then you need to do massive excavation into your heart chakra to release your heart from the locks and walls you've built around it. But once we get past these, moats that you basically build a moat around your heart, a moat, right? You know what a moat is. And you're going past all these Maxwell's smarts, doors that open up and close. The heart is fucking pure. It always is. It always will. It just is. It just is. It has incredible wisdom, incredible capacity for love. The love there is the love out of these heart chakras that we have are amazing. They're infinite. Are everyone in human incarnations imbued with hearts like this? No. Why do I say that? Well, I think you can see the evidence. We do have reptilians in the 1% and in leadership positions. I think we know. Do they have hearts, some of them? I know there are reptilians who are not incarnated here who do. I know that. There's an evolution going on. But I also do know that some of the powers to be right now who are doing shit that you can't even wrap your head around, it's reptilian. At that point, it is gut shit. It's all gut. Muladhara, the crocodile. It's from that consciousness. Can it evolve? Eventually, yeah. But trust your heart. You are not like them. You never were. This is a time when the heart knowing must lead above the intellectual assessment of things. It is also when we are best moved by a greater guiding intelligence rather than the doggedly sticking to a plan and trying to assert ourselves. The feminine is not as direct in her approach as the masculine. Her seeds germinate in darkness. Her creative methods are not always seen yet are powerful. The oracle brings encouragement that even though it seems like your will is being thwarted or you are not getting what you want right now, or you just wish you could have clarity and know your direction, you are still making progress. So the concept of the high priest is connected to the moon is you don't always see with your mortal eyes your direction. You can't see. It's not going to show you 20 to 100 steps ahead. It won't. It can't. You're not ready for that information. Why? Because your ego will freak the fuck out and you start running back to your cave. That's why. Actually, quite often. So rather than doing that, what they do is they spoon feed us as we take one step, then the other step towards our path. And as we do that, we get more and more evolved in the magic. And we start really processing and in connecting with divine, and we start surrendering to a level that I would say is unconditional. Like, I trust you. I trust you implicitly, Source, God. And I know that as I walk blindfolded, I am on the right path. And that's why. Things are coming together in the best way, and something is growing that is aligned with the divine plan you were born to fulfill. You are encouraged to restore your inner energies and move when you feel inspired rather than thrusting forward in an attempt to make progress. Do you understand? Sometimes this weird stagnation, I mean, be honest with yourself. Is this stagnation fear? Yours? Or is stagnation just stagnation? So the pause button that is not yours, but is hit by the universe, is because you have to process what's just transpired. You are transforming. And then the portals would open again, and you will start proceeding onto the next leg of your journey. The goddess knows what she's doing. Her actions will benefit you and all beings profoundly. Allow her to have her way. Amazing. It's an amazing... Listen, this is probably one of the best decks ever written. It's called the Kali Oracle deck. And I hate giving Amazon, but you could probably get it on Amazon, but I know it's sold out on TikTok. Any questions or comments? Anything at all? Okay, so the next deck that I'm pulling out is just Moon. It's called Moonology. I don't often use it, but I'm just going to see what the hell it's saying real quick. I'm not asking you guys to get involved because I'm just going to see what drops. Okay? Now I want to kind of know what is the message for that. And hang on. Okay, let me see what falls. And nothing's falling, so I'm just going to pull. Okay, this is adjustments. This, you can't make this up. Adjustments are required. Third quarter moon. So I'm going to pull out two more. Adjustments are required. Third quarter moon. Luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius. You know, it is the archer, right? It is the arrow. It is the bow and arrow. And again, you pull. It's almost like pull the arrow, right? Pull it blindfolded and let the arrow be guided by your heart. Not your mind, your heart. And see where it hits. And finally, you can't make up these cards. It's fantastic. Confidence is your key to success. New moon in Leo. New moon in Leo. Okay, so let me repeat. Adjustments are required. Third quarter moon. Luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius. Confidence is your key to success. New moon in Leo. Let me read new moon in Leo because this is interesting to me. Do you guys have any requests? Because I'm going to read new moon in Leo because there's a reason behind that. Trust me. New moon in Leo. 76, which is, now there's no accidents. So 76, right? So 76 is 13. It's Scorpio energy. Why? Because it's 13. 13 is death in tarot. And the card is connecting to Scorpio. It's regeneration. There's no accident. I knew there was a what does that mean, regeneration? Because what we've just done, the reading on this Kali deck that I just read, is talking about you guys changing, doing a massive spiritual and physical 180. Okay? In everything. In having a complete obedience to your birthright, which is your intuition. Right? All right. So listen, here we go. Full moon in Leo. Don't let pride get in your way. Have you been letting your pride become an obstacle? Is the question... Oh, by the way, there's two levels of pride. There's fear of failure and fear of success. There's also... it's kind of a sabotaging energy, right? Because you could be very prideful and afraid of falling on your face and making yourself look like a fool. That's toxic pride. You shouldn't give a shit. Your goal is to move. Keep it moving. And if people are laughing at you, I'm going to give you a list of people, if you'd like me to, a small list of people that have been laughed at, and now they're getting the last laugh. And they are brilliant, brilliant, brilliant people. Okay? If you want me to give you some names. Okay, have you been letting your pride become an obstacle? Is the question you're asking based on your ego or is it from your heart? Leo energy is all about the heart. Think of the big-hearted king of the jungle, the lion. Its energy is magnificent, but when it's combined with the rush of the full moon, it can become over the top. This card may have come to you because you need to end a deadlock that has developed. More love and thought for the greater good are the solution to this dilemma. If you're not been doing as you would be done by, do unto others as you would do unto them is what they mean. This is the time to find a balance between your own needs and the needs of the people around you. This will help in all your relationship. Attune to the moon, being magnificent without being plain too much. I don't know what that means. Be magnificent without being plain too much. I don't know what that means. Additional meaning for this card. Self-esteem is good. Vanity is not. Yeah, false ego. Look, it's interesting. The false ego is a really interesting concept because the false ego can be false humility, deprecating, oh shucks, I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough information. I'm not educated enough. That's all bullshit. That's false ego. And vanity is, I know everything. There's nothing you can teach me. That's also bullshit. So you have to kind of like be in the middle way, right? Everyone is equally important. That's good. Creative urges should be followed. Work some magic. A friendship may be ending soon. Well, no shit. A friendship will definitely be ending soon, right? Because as you raise your frequency and your friend wants you to still be in 3D with toxic ideas, gossipy, life is shit kind of attitude, yeah, you're not going to be friends with them very much because you've got shit to do. You've got new horizons to explore. And you don't need friends that tell you things that you don't want to hear. You could still love them. Call them on their birthday. Say, I miss you. I'm busy, but I love you. I only have 10 minutes. But like, don't let guilt drive you down back into their rabbit hole. Like, don't do that. Like, hell no. Okay, new beginnings. Wow, absolutely. Any other requests or questions? You guys want one more Oracle card, and what would you want it from? Would you like it from Kali Oracle? And we'll call it a night after that, if you don't mind. Any other cards? Yes, or are you guys also ready to call it a day? Let me know, because I'm not gonna. Any other cards that you want me to pull to see if there's any other messages? Yes, Beth? Okay, perfect. I'm going to do a Kali again because I just feel like tonight, and I usually don't do like 3 cards from the same deck, but I'm going to trust this process because it's really something. It's like you were speaking directly to me. Well, that's good. That's probably why you guys are here, because for many of you, there's a message that you can get out of it, and that's the point. And I'm glad to hear it. All right, when you're ready, top, bottom, or middle. Top, bottom, or middle. Okay, and trust whatever's picked as a majority is a message you need as well. Trust that process. Bottom, top. Okay, we're going with top. All right, here we go. This is called 16. Now, 16 in Kabbalah numerology is the tower. In tarot, it's the tower. What does that mean? If you're holding on to shit too hard, a job, a toxic something, a relationship, whatever that is, the tower's coming. It's an abrupt, oh my God, I lost my job. Oh my God, they're asking for a divorce. Oh my God, whatever it is. It's an oh my God moment. And it's never that you're being punished. It's that, imagine, it's kind of like your hands are holding onto the steering wheel, and somebody like me has to take a ruler and beat the shit out of your hands off. Just stop holding on to the steering wheel. Let go. Just let go. We're going in the wrong direction, right? So it's not bad. But 1 + 6 is 7. The journey, the 7 wonders of the world, right? And so there's that. So there's always, in this particular story, it's a hard story. It's a hard pill to swallow, the tower, but it has a silver lining, which is 7. So this particular card is called, from the Kali Oracle deck, it's called Mahakali. Mahakali. And she has she has 6 arms. And in 2 arms, she's holding scimitars, fire, a skull, a bell, and I can't tell what else she's holding. A lotus flower. Yeah, and she's absolutely gorgeous, and she's blue. And blue is a very powerful number with Archangel Michael, and also in the Hindu belief system of, say, Krishna, who is blue. And if you've ever read Ruth Montgomery, she talked about a blue race. So it's not woohoo stuff at all. Okay, let's begin. 16, page 103. 103. Okay, so 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 is taking on karma. It's the mark of the volunteer. Okay, let's begin. I'm sweating. Okay. Her magnificence steadies the anxious mind. Well, that's perfect for you, Auntie. Her magnificence steadies the anxious mind and reassures the heart of the empowering grace that arises through trust in her. Attempting to fathom the wisdom behind the workings of the Divine Mother would be like trying to cram the entire ocean into a teacup. Such wisdom is vast, and our perspective is limited. Yet we don't need to understand divine will to benefit from it. Better to allow her creativity, resourcefulness, and unlimited vision to take effort in our lives, bringing us every grace necessary for our blessed fulfillment. First of the 10 wisdom goddesses of the Mahavadyas is the 10-armed, she had 10 arms, 10-armed Mahakali. She is laden with her sacred weapons. Many arms and weapons symbolize the capacity of the Divine Mother to work beyond human limitations. The contrast is not intended to diminish the dignity of our humanity. Humans have tremendous capacity for heroism, kindness, love, grace, and generosity. Rather, it is an encouragement to engage with the divine with perfect trust in our hearts. Multiple weapons represent multiple creative powers to conquer multiple issues. More than 2 arms indicate that divine workings are not limited to by our human perspective or capacities. This is reassuring. The divine can accomplish works beyond what would be possible through human effort alone. I don't know why I'm being told to say that, but I'm going to say this. Did you hear that line? I'm just going to read it before I explain. This is reassuring. The divine can accomplish works beyond what would be possible through human effort alone. When people we love die, okay? Some of them die because the only way that they can get to 5D transformation is to drop the 3D body. They've come so far. They can't cross any more ascension bridge in their physical form in 3D. Okay? And in the same case, they are more useful to us on the other side, helping us guide, helping us be part of our guiding system as we complete our incarnation and our mission and our journey. And so the agreement before we were born was that they would die to escort us to the rest of our years left here to help us ascend. This is true in this timeline. All right? Mahakali means great Kali. She is known as the guardian of the cosmic order, the one who selects the timing for all unfoldment. Nothing can be accomplished without the necessary preparation, not before it is right time for it. Such process and timing are determined according to higher wisdom, capable of assessing and meeting the spiritual needs of all beings simultaneously. We cannot know what the order of events must be to accomplish the Divine Mother's purpose in high insight. We may attain a glimpse of her unfolding genius, but to live in harmony with her requires us to trust in what is unfolding and to work with that, even when events seem to be going against us or we cannot see the way to succeed. Yeah, sometimes what's happening is that your beloved, you might be in separation from your beloved, and you're like, I don't understand, why can't I be with this person? Because they still have soul contracts with children that need to be, they can't just leave. There's some unfinished business to be completed. And to force it to end any sooner than it's supposed to end is to incur karma. There are toxic jobs that you're supposed to stay in for some reason. Usually the reasons are your own lessons, but also your presence and the way you think and the way you move and the vibration of your essence as a multidimensional being is like a massive geode crystal in the middle of a hospital or the middle of a bank or a corporate situation or whatever. And your presence is actually healing and activating others. Does that make sense? How do we protect such trust? There's no magic to it. It is a choice we make again and again. When we sense the next step is before us, we proceed. When we need to wait, we wait. Did you hear that? When we sense the next step is before us, we proceed. When we need to wait, we wait. Trust the waiting. We do not try to force, but we tune into our hearts and sense what is guided in each moment. We allow ourselves to feel intimately known and connected with the divine as our ally. We saw this in action in impossible situations with other people. That means that if something you call bad has happened, like a person you really, really love, and you had a whole plan that you guys were going to be together, and now they're gone. They dropped their body. They're gone. And you feel betrayed by the universe. You're not getting the plot of this whole entire incarnation that is a drop in the ocean of consciousness of your own evolution. You're not getting it. Instead of bemoaning the loss, learn how to connect with your divine beloved who passed, who died, however, and communicate with them and see what's up and see what the guidance and see what your mission is. Connect with them every day. It's not brain surgery, my friend. It's spiritual self-realization of your own powers to communicate beyond the veils. And once you start understanding that, you're definitely going to have the human experience of missing the sound of their voice, their touch, their smell, their laugh, all that. Yes, of course, yes. But you're going to become transcendental because you're going to realize that this is one of many incarnations. The most important, because this could be your final ride in 3D if you play your cards right. Okay? We recognize that a sequencing of certain events needs to happen. This enables lessons to be learned so we are ready at every stage for what needs to come next. We're not being denied or blocked. We're being loved. It is protective compassion that prevents us from seeing anything other than the next one or two steps ahead. To know more is not always helpful. That's right, to know more isn't always helpful. Although if a specific knowledge would support us on our path, then we would be sure it will come to us. When will that happen? Mahakali reminds us that it will be at the best time. It may be after we have acknowledged that there is a problem we need to resolve, or when we have created some mental space so an essential understanding is not lost in psychological clutter. If you have ever felt like you have your best insights after a shower or after you switch off during a yoga class or exercise session, then you've experienced how much easier it is to access inner guidance when you switch off and empty the mind. Be here now and attend to what you can attend to now, leaving all else until the right moment is upon you. Your heart shall instinctively know that moment without needing to be told. All that is happening now is growing you towards that moment. All that has happened before has grown you into capacity for this moment. This is as it is in Mahakali's beautiful wisdom dance as she wields the weapons needed to provide the right conditions, the right endings, the right beginnings within which the soul can flourish. Trust that what is happening now will give way to new expression when the time is right. This will be when your readiness matches the requirements for success and what those who can benefit from your increasing soul awakening have awoken sufficiently. also attend to your work with determination and hope in your heart. Trust that the divine is taking care of everything else. That's right. It's this trust. And I hate to say this, but what else am I going to say? Because I know it's a fact. You got to beat the shit out of your ego. And how do you beat it? Well, sometimes you just literally say, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to, I'm in a meditation right now. Or you breathe, pranayama exercise, or you do mantras, or all of the above. I'm not kidding. And as you go through this process of clearing the monkey mind from the attacks, right? You become more and more transcendental to surrender to divine timing. There is such a thing. It's not made up. It's not new age bullshit. It's ancient knowledge. Ancient knowledge. And what do I mean by that? There's an old saying, when you are ready, the teacher will come. That's divine timing. That's divine. But if you're not ready, no one's coming, okay? No one's coming because no one wants to deal with, they're telling me to say it, so I'm just going to, with a whiny brat saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. You're not even close to being there yet. You're not getting Mickey Mouse ears. This is a soul evolution. This is not a trip to Disney. So that's what we have to understand. You know what I mean? So let me see your comments. Hypervigilance. I have chills. Oh, this whole week you were sweating. I'm staying alone in my truth. My answers have been here for 2 weeks. May I invite you to call on your ancestors, not just from this incarnation and bloodline, but across all bloodlines. Okay. So what I would say to you is say, my ancestors from this life, past lives, future incarnations across all timelines, dimensions, and planets. And that who only wish me love, kindness, and guidance. Because not all ancestors were good. Some of them were psychopaths. Let's be honest. Let's not put everyone on a pedestal, okay? It's very sexy to say, my ancestors. Hey, I'm just letting you know. Make sure you call on the right people, the right sentient beings, the right souls, because you could bring in some shit, you know what I mean? And then you're really fucked. All right. Hey, Andromeda. It's good to see you. Good morning. It's like, I don't even know what time it is. All right. So that's all for now. Any other questions or comments? Do you guys, any questions on AKASHIK readings and hypnotherapy and, like past life downloads that you get and how you might get a little snippet, anything at all? Good morning. We're on Friday, Andromeda Flame and me, a special guest, Cosmic Canary, on Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is Friday the 18th. We're going to have a whole live based on special education, neurodivergence. Mostly it's about children and teenagers. And it's going to be really helpful if you have kids with different learning needs and requirements and gifts that the school systems just don't seem to understand and can't seem to do anything. You're welcome. I am too. Thank you so much, Tony. I'm happy I got on this live. Me too. I'm really happy you were there. That was cool to see. Have your energy. But so we're gonna do that on Thursday. I've got to confirm it, but I have a wonderful guest that we're going to talk about how to open your voice and to be in service to yourself, to those that you love, and to the collective, and how to feel comfortable with your voice. And then we are going to have another live, I believe it might be this weekend. I'll have to check with 3 women. Andromeda Flame is going to be on that as well. And it's going to be about, you need that. Cool. I'm glad. So it'll be on Friday. It'll be this Friday, VDRS. And this is coming from 2 PhDs, a medical doctor and a psychologist. Okay. And she'll be able to give you a lot of tips. And if you want to connect with Cosmic Canary, she will give you a 30-minute free consultation to help you along the way. And we're also going to be talking about just like we have shysters we have shysters in the twin flame journey. we have shysters in special education, right? And so she'll talk about that and what to look out for. What else? Yeah, and then we're going to have another live on homelessness and what it means to us on the ascension journey. Okay, I did, and I would like you. I'm going to ask all of you to be so kind as to go on my YouTube channel and follow me there. All of these lives go on there. There's a particular YouTube that I posted from this morning about the Menendez brothers and sexual energy and trauma for the masculine. This is actually, if you think you're in separation with your twin or your beloved because or you're having massive problems in your relationship and you think it's just because they have an addiction problem and you haven't deep dove into the concept of the shadows of S8 abuses amongst young masculines, then I want you to watch that live that I did this morning. I talk about the Menendez. It's on point with what's going on right now. And I urge you to there's certain lives I'll ask you to share, not for my own ego, but because I want to get these messages out as much as possible so that people who are content creators can purify the message, maybe articulate it a different way that needs to be articulated, or maybe it could actually open up a dialogue between a person and their beloved in going through a massive healing journey so they can honestly tell their beloved, yes, this happened to me. And then guess what? A truth now can be experienced and a release so that these two people can come into union from a level of trust that they've never experienced in many incarnations. Okay, so look for the one that says Menendez Brothers. That's the one I'd like you to look at. And you can look at the last 5 lives. I've been really concentrating on the divine masculine. And it's interesting because I've been doing a lot of work with men and for decades. But I really started deep diving into trauma with men when I was in my 30s, unbeknownst to me, you know, because I'm sure you have the same type of issues that I have, is that I sit next to people and within like 10 minutes they're telling me their whole life story. I'm like, oh, okay, whoa. And you know, you start helping them, right? Because it's what we're here to do. But what I found across the years is that the reasons why these men can't connect with you fully and be naked, spiritually naked before your eyes, is because they are holding massive shit. So I want you to listen to my Menendez live that I did this, I think it was this morning, this afternoon. And I'm asking you to go on Netflix or get someone's account and ask them if you could just jump on and watch this particular, don't watch the fucking movie, it's a piece of shit. Watch the Menendez documentary, and I want you to see how they are so hell-bent on absolutely not revealing what happened to them. I want you to try to really, digest. Let me put it this way. If I could have all of you do a quasi-book club, documentary club on that particular story of these brothers and excavate and deconstruct what happened with a group of women and men, if you want, if you want. That would be phenomenal. I wish I could do it. And the reason I'm saying that is because then you would understand why it is so hard for men to come clean. You'd understand. Because when I watched that documentary, I was blown away. And we as women take it for granted that we have 3 girls, maybe 5 chicks we can call and repeat the same fucking, come on, let's be honest, the same fucking story. I have one person that I do that with, to be honest. But when I was younger, I had 3 or 4 chicks, I'd say, and I complained about whatever, right? We've all been there. But men do not do that. They don't do that. They don't have that. And men will go to a therapist, a talk therapist, and not all talk therapists are created equal, and they will keep you entrenched. There are some talk therapists, I don't give a shit if this is politically, I really don't care. Some of them are amazing, and they know that they have like the Milton Erickson method of in 20, 30 sessions, you're fucking out, right? You're out because they're trying to jumpstart you into your healing. But there are systems, like there's a particular friend of mine whose person was in therapy with the same therapist for 30 years and never evolved. Had massive mother wounds, never evolved. And the therapist had the audacity to say, yeah, you bought my Palm Beach home, with a straight face. So the therapist, the psychologist that I've got coming on Friday is definitely not that. She is an amazing soul. She's a beautiful heart. She's got a spiritual a path. She takes it very seriously. And we're lucky to have her. So that'll be something that hopefully will help all of you if you have grandchildren, children, or whatever. Okay. Hare Krishna. How are you? All right. What does it say here? Be careful of trauma bond. Could you give the names of the shaman books again, please? No, this was not a shaman book. There was no shaman books. It was just oracle cards. That's all it was. It was called the Kali Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. That's all. Okay? The shaman things that I was talking about were things that I was sharing myself. Whatever you heard me read in the top of this live was me reading to you. You mentioned earlier. Yeah, that was me. I was reading what I was giving you. It was my stuff. It's what I wrote. Does that make sense? And it's not a book yet. I hope that, does that make sense, or am I not understanding you? What I read in the beginning of this live was all what I wrote about Akashic readings and hypnotherapy sessions. I was just, sharing it off the top of my head, if you know what I'm saying. In terms of the oracle cards, it was that. But there was one shaman book. Yeah, I did mention the shaman book was called Lynn Andrews. So the author is called Lynn Andrews. I'm sorry, you have to understand. I downloaded it till past 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. Beth, it's good to see you. It's called Jaguar Woman by Lynn Andrews. Jaguar Woman by Lynn Andrews is one book. She wrote many, many books. I actually met her. She was amazing. I met Lynn Andrews in I don't fucking remember. I think it was 1993 or 94. Wow, I just realized 1993, 94. So there were two things going on during that time. The O.J. Simpson trial, the Menendez trial. And I met her. She had just come out with the book Shikai Woman. And it was in the basement of Alexandria 2 bookstore in Pasadena, California. And I was in the front seat because I'm a good student. And I sit in the front. And I'll never forget, she had silvery blonde hair. And she had the most incredible opalescent blue eyes. I first of all, I've never seen blue eyes that were opalescent. What that means is they glimmered and shimmered and changed color. Like opals. That was number one. And that's when I knew she was massively powerful and psychic. I look at people's eyes and I read. And I remember there was a long line for people to write to get their books. You know, everyone had booked Shikai Woman and they wanted it signed. And I remember people, spiritual people, man, they're no better than anybody else. And I'll tell you why. So some people were actually fighting as to who was in the front of the line. It was insane. So, of course, I sat back and waited until everyone had done their little whatever. So I sat back for like 30, 45 minutes. And then when the line had thinned, I was the last one. I went up to her, asked her if she could sign my book. And she stared at me for a long, long time. And I stared at her. And it was like a recognition of power, not of souls. We were not soul tribe members, of power. And I could tell. I could tell she knew I had not tapped into my power yet. I could tell, and I was 31. And that was it. That was the only time I ever saw her. But her books were amazing. And unfortunately, there were a lot of people who are, critics, book critics, lit critics, and so forth, talking shit about her, saying that her books were fake, that it was fiction, not nonfiction. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I didn't release Recall as a nonfiction. I released it originally as a fiction because I'd seen how people who wrote books of that level got, witch hunted. I'd seen it with Shirley MacLaine on her famous book Out on a Limb. She was witch hunted for like fucking damn near 15 years. And Lynn Andrews was witch hunted. Carlos Castaneda was witch hunted, told that he was lying, that it was not possible. And so a lot of us have been muzzled by even watching other people being muzzled. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So anyway, I answered your question in a lengthy way, but I think that it was important for you guys to learn about her. She passed about, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago. She had a retreat up in Joshua Tree, and she was the real thing. You can't make that shit up. I've seen people who are supposedly channelers and psychics, and I know they're full of shit. I just know it. Or they're channeling. In fact, I was having a conversation with Andromeda Flame. I won't mention the name because I'm not here to bully anyone. But I know they're channeling reptilians, not light beings. And in between the shit they're saying, they're giving us good intel. Don't get me wrong, that's how they get you. It's good intel, but it's coming from a reptilian energy. And that's why some people are full of shit and they're not channeling anything. Some people are channeling reptilian energy, and some people are channeling real things, real beautiful souls. Like Lee Harris is a pure channeler. I mean, if I'm going to talk shit about this, I might as well give you the good ones. Lee Harris is an amazing channeler. Adam Apollo is a great energy healer. Let me see who else. Theo. Shelley, her name is Shelley, I think it's Silverstone or Firestone, but she channels Theo, Theo. She's the real thing, I believe, from what I've seen, from what I've heard. And, but I mean, my favorite, to be honest, is Lee Harris, honestly. You know what I mean? I love him. So I hope that helped. Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you, Jennifer. And Alchemist Moon. And let me see. Andromeda, are you working right now? Here, let me just do this. Do you have anything you want to add about channeling? I've sent you an invite. Maybe you can talk to them about it. You're working, I think, right? Okay. Any questions on channelers? Do you have any questions on, say, anything else, like light language or anything like that? There's a channeler. There's a great show you may want to look at on Gaia.com, and I would look up Adam Apollo, start with him. And he doesn't channel, by the way, at all. But he just remembers all kinds of incredible things. And then you've got also Matias de Stefano. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he actually remembers all the way back to the golden age of Atlantis and other planets. He remembers names, the actual names of other planets, of what Atlantis was called. And he started remembering, I think, when he was 9. He's South American, and he's an amazing, beautiful soul. And again, his name is, I'm about to jump in the shower. Oh my God, icy cold. So his name is Matias de Stefano. Okay, so that's another real deal. Okay, real deal, beautiful soul. Freddie Silver is another real deal, but he's not a channeler. What he is an mystical anthropologist / Indiana Jones / whatchamacallit? What would I call him? Like, I would call him not a shaman, like, he's just amazing. There's something about him, and he's so sweet, and so he's so funny, and he's brilliant. So his name is Freddie Silva, Freddie with a Y, Silva, Silva, and he's on. You can actually look him up on. You can look him up on YouTube if you want to just look at some of his free content and some of his talks on the Knights Templars and other sites, sacred sites. He's incredible. And who else do I really love? There aren't, I hate to say this to you guys, but you've got Regina Meredith. I just mentioned her, but there aren't a lot of women that are on the ball. The last woman we had that was a powerhouse, and I mean, I'm talking about powerhouses to the level of Louise Hay. We don't have anyone that I can think of personally, me, okay? One of the great writers of mythology and breaking down mythology and fairy tales using the Jungian archetypes is Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She wrote the very famous book called Women Who Run with the Wolves. This is probably the most important book that a woman can read and own. And I remember my twin would read some of it to understand the feminine perspective, meaning me. And he would love it when I read it to him. So he loved me reading to him. We would read to each other. So it's pretty cool. I love Matthias de Stefano. Yes, he's amazing. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading you again. So yeah, he's amazing. And he's got a pure soul. Right? Wouldn't you agree that, Glambar? He's got a pure soul, doesn't he? Trying to think of who else. Right now, I just bought the book Unearthing the Last Words of Yeshua, and it's discovery and text of the Gospel of Thomas. And if you'd like, I could read some of this to you, some of the things, not the last words, but really about how. I wouldn't read unless I found a couple quotes that were important, like I opened the page, whatever. But I could actually read from this book how the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Now that would be fascinating. And I'd be excited to share that with you. I just bought the book, and here I'll read you a little bit. It says, December along the upper Nile River is the ideal time to dig for sahak. The devastating summer heat is gone and the valley soil more pliable than it is in the dry season. December 1945 was particularly auspicious. World War II had ended 4 months before. Egypt was enjoying a welcome hiatus between the ravages of Rommel. I don't know if you guys know Rommel, General Rommel. He was German. And the coming war over the new state of Israel. A rare peace had descended upon the Middle East, but the camel drivers digging into the sloping base of a cliff near the river had a personal war to worry over. There were 7 of them, including Muhammad Ali and 2 of his brothers. The area where they hunted the nitrate-rich fertilizers not far from their native village appears to be the unknowing, eye-safe, and unassuming. Located 300 miles south of Cairo is a spot where the Nile flows from east to west. The small village of Nag Hammadi lies near a bend in the river just miles away. It is here that a railroad track marked a borderline as menacing to Muhammad Ali and his band as the line in the sand that had separated German tanks from the forces of the Allies. South of the track, inside the river bend, was the territory of Ali's clan. To the north lay Hamradam, the fortified village of a Waring clan that had already killed Ali's father. So this is about how they found the Nag Hammadi scrolls. And if you'd like me to read that tomorrow, I'd be more than honored to read the beginnings of that, because it goes really deep into what it took for them to discover the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's pretty amazing. And for me, that's everything. I mean, because this religion, right? Judeo-Christian religion has controlled us for thousands of years. We might as well know what the fuck happened. We should know the details. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we're going to let something take us down the wrong paths for 2,000 years, it would be nice to know. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean how they bastardized Yeshua's words, and how the Essenes were so terrified of the powers that be, that the Essenes took the ancient scrolls that should have been part of the entire Bible and shoved them into urns and buried them all across the deserts and caves. And this is one of the things that was found. Okay? So anyway, I want to send you so much love on your journey. We'll talk again soon. And namaste, be well. Take care.